I'm just way too cerebral for that. Like
if I did that when we were in Chicago, I'd have been in good shape. Most of the people that met me wouldn't have hated me.
Yeah, not me. I got too many thoughts racing all the time for that. And I know the waves, the good waves and the bad waves, right? The bad waves can be bad waves. I tell you that.
Once it gets bad, you just have to like point me to a cloud and be like, "Hey man, check out that cloud." And it's like everything's just gone.
Doesn't it look like a chihuahua? Yeah, I got you. Anyway, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stochastic.com MLB Deeper Dive, presented by Bet365.
Welcome back.
Iowa went live. Might be the first time in my life that I've envied anyone who resides in Iowa.
I don't. We know what, one person?
It's weird. There's a lot that watch the shows. I don't know how they all kind of get concentrated in Iowa, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I assume it's sort of like centrifugal force, but in reverse. Everybody, instead of just like being pushed out to the edges of the United States,
you're saying it's like a tornado.
You get sucked in.
Yeah,
you get sucked into the middle of awfulness.
Sucked into Iowa.
You're like most people, wink, wink, end up on the edges of the United States. Your San Franciscos, your LAs, your New Yorks, up and down the East Coast. Unfortunately, some people get sucked in the middle.
Today,
shout out Iowa.
Today, fortunately, if you're in Iowa, I'll tell you why in a little bit. It's the best deal it's the best deal out there right now, bar none, hands down. So we'll talk about it. What's that?
I disagree.
You disagree?
I don't think it's the best deal out there, bar none.
1 in the 365 is pretty good.
I've got a better deal than that.
What is it?
Now, it's not going to be you put in $1, you get 365. You're going to have to put in a decent chunk of money. There's no discount on it. But if you want something better than Bet365, you should be putting every single dollar you can into our MLB Sims tool.
That is a verifiable fact. I was talking like sportsbook promos, but
sure.
Yeah, there's a reason it's not a free trial. There's a reason it's expensive. It's because it's going to revolutionize the way people play DFS. It's going to change the game. And we'll talk about it. But anyway, happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. We got 12 games today. Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D, joined by Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman. How'd your day go yesterday?
Depends on the definition of how did it go.
I thought it would have been great because everything you had talked about on the show, highest exposure to Snell, Nola, Houston, all that stuff seemed to work out. I mean, Houston had a lot bottom of the order guys, but still.
I was primarily 6, 7, 8, 9 in the Houston stack, so we can tack that on to it being awesome and it working out the way that it was supposed to. I had a great day on paper. I wouldn't change a thing. Everything was great. I thought that I was going to have much bigger sweats. Trey Turner kind of fucked that up a little bit for me. I had 5 lineups in the top 1%. That was like the 3rd or 4th best outcome. I was slightly profitable. I did not win. That's really all that matters to me. I didn't get anything into the top 10, but 5 lineups into the top 1%. If I do that every night, I'm the most successful DFS player on the planet. So I can't complain about how it shook out. It didn't put anything into real contention for me.
Yeah. Tommy, no, the Sims tool is not $300 a month. It's $180 and it's underpriced.
It will be.
Probably will be. We'll talk. I want to talk about it. I want to get your thoughts on it in a little
bit. We have to dig into it because it's
a game changer.
It's going to be, today is a day. Well, yes, technically speaking, yesterday is a day that we can mark on a calendar as a change in the DFS industry.
The way I watched people, pro DFS players talking about it on Twitter yesterday was basically first projections were introduced to the public, then ownership projections, then optimizers, and now this might be the final step, which is a crazy thing to think about, that we're the only site to have this. It is pretty cool.
I had some dolt message me on Twitter today and say, the consensus outside of the company, including pros I respect, is that this is a complete waste of money that provides no value. There's not a single person on the planet that's going to say that. You might not think that like whatever we did right now is the greatest tool ever. You'd be wrong in DFS, but you might not think that. we have opened Pandora's box today. Oh, well, yesterday. This is going, people are going to do this at not just Stochastic moving forward. And this is going to become a standard in this industry.
Just there's like not a single and ownership.
There's not a single pro on the planet that sees that differently.
Yep. Yeah. Well, these people are just, a lot of them just get mad that it's not $5 a month. So then they take it out on us.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into it, man. Lucas Giolito, Chicago White Sox, New York Yankees, 8.5 total. White Sox plus 125 money line. So Clark Schmidt, Lucas Giolito. Let's dive straight into it. Again, happy to have you guys with us. Take a single second to hit that thumbs up, by the way. Subscribe to the channel. All that good stuff goes a very long way. And as you know, and as many have already said in chat, atone for your sins, my friends. On this Tuesday evening, wash yourselves clean. It takes a second. You'll feel better afterwards. I promise you. You'll go down, see the family afterwards and go, I feel a burden lifted off my shoulder. Oh, well, that's great. What happened? Something at work? Nah, I hit the thumbs up. That's all. All right. So let's talk about it, Josh. Lucas Giolito today, ownership, only 4.5%. Now, it's funny because yesterday was only 7 games and it was really stacked high. It was top heavy as far as pitchers went. Aaron Nola, and I meant to text you the other day or yesterday we didn't mention it. We had talked about his K rate. I went and looked at all his matchups after the show and I go, oh, that makes sense. He had so many difficult matchups to start the season. Comes in and just mows down the Detroit Tigers. But anyway, today, it was
a good day to have 90-something% of Aaron Nola.
For sure. He had like, what, 12, 13 Ks, something insane.
It's 40 DK points.
5 pitchers at 25+%. Then you have Paxton at 11%. And then nobody else above 5% on a 12-game slate.
Yeah. It's a different slate than we had yesterday. Sort of. It's in a weird way, it's kind of the same because there's just like 5 guys that are getting ownership and the rest of the slate is just non-existent. But that does open up a little bit more on a 12-gamer where there are some spots that you can get to that aren't pulling much ownership on the pitching side. Like on a smaller slate, on a 7-gamer, the guys that aren't getting any ownership probably shouldn't. On a day like today, I think there are some spots where you can get a little bit different at pitching.
So then, do we want to get to Giolito or Clark Schmidt today at Yankee Stadium? So not exactly the best place to pitch if you're a righty. Either of these guys appeal to you at all? Because Clark Schmidt's getting a lot of ownership.
I mean, 7,900 against the White Sox. It's a pretty solid strikeout matchup. I have him in terms of, I don't want to say stack score, but the same way that we calculate stack score. I have Clark Schmidt coming in as my 6th best option. Clearly interesting. 4-run implied total for the White Sox. Do I think that there are better spots than Clark Schmidt today? I do. But he projects really well coming out of Steamer, 23% K rate, 3.9 FIP. Like he's an above average option against the White Sox. I don't love it in New York. It's a slightly homer friendly park. Do I like Clark Schmidt? Yes. Do I think 29% ownership is too high? Probably by a little bit. He was 14% top 2 pitcher odds in our top pitchers tool, 12% as top value. I think he should probably be in that like 15 to 20% range instead of 29. I think 20 would be pretty reasonable. So I think he's a tad over-owned, but clearly in a good spot.
Yeah, look, 26% strikeout rate on the season. The Chicago White Sox are striking out at middle of the road strikeout rate. So nothing crazy against righties, but also, dude, they have a 6% walk rate against righties. So again, that, the longevity here, ability to pitch deep into games. They have the lowest walk rate in the league against righties. They have an 81 WRC plus, which ranks 26th in the league, ahead of only the Detroit, Kansas City, Oakland, and Cleveland, and a pretty dismal 140 ISO. So, subpar 140 ISO. Yeah. So essentially, are they the highest K rate team in the league? No, but they're just awful and they don't get free passes.
They do not. It's interesting for Schmidt because in this same matchup, you've got Lucas Giolito on the opposite side. That's $1,000 more expensive. And to me, not as good of an option here against New York. Yankees are a worse strikeout team, more power on the opposite side. So it's hard to justify trying to go to Giolito if Clark Schmidt exists, if we're just talking about this game in particular. So I've got it at a 23% strikeout rate for the White Sox in this matchup. The only thing that's really going to slow down Schmidt is the top of the order. Anderson and Benintendi don't exactly have big time strikeout rates, but otherwise it's a at least average strikeout matchup for Schmidt. I'm happy to get there. Do I think there are other options? I do. I don't mind the chalk though.
You like any bats from either side?
Just to put it out there, I prefer Musgrove and Peralta to Schmidt, but we'll get to both of those guys. They're also getting 30% ownership. Do I like the bats on this side? More than we do on one side for sure. White Sox, I find difficult to get to. They're 18th in top stack, 15th in value. They're expensive and not particularly likely to be good. This is not a team I'm trying to get to. I do think the Yankees are at least a little bit sneaky. We have them 16th in top stack. I'm a bit higher there. I have them 8th. And not that there's a huge difference between those two ranks. One of them is 2.5%, the other's 4%. So like, we're not talking about a big disparity in how frequently one of these teams are good, but there's so much power for some of these guys in the Yankee lineup that it's hard for me to just immediately ignore them. I can't look at a 4.7 run implied total on the Yankees at home and think to myself, this is one of the 10 worst stacks I can get to. I think they're like just on the edge of a top 10. I like the idea of getting to the Yankees today as a way to get different. Josh Donaldson at 5% is the highest owned guy for the Yankees right now. He's 3,200. They're pretty cost effective and unowned. You're not going to feel bad about going to a team like New York today.
All right. You know, you probably would feel bad about getting to either Tommy Henry or Jake Irvin. These are not great spots. Pulling no ownership. I mean, Tommy Henry has a 15% strikeout rate on the season. That's not exactly what you're looking for in a situation like this. Jake Irvin on the other side, there's not a lot here that really stands out. Arizona has some pop against righties. Also, they strike out at the lowest clip. Third lowest clip, 19.6% team strikeout rate against righties this season. So I just don't really see pitching as a priority on either side of this game.
No, I essentially don't have it at all. And by the way, I was kind of stalling a little bit on that first game until my crunch was done. I have 5% Clark Schmidt right now. So I am quite a bit under the field. I am much over the field on Musgrove, as I sort of mentioned before, but I just wanted to get that out there. For Jake Irvin, for Tommy Henry, these are two guys that both have an 18% projected K rate via Steamer. They're both 4.75 or higher in projected FIP. Neither one of these guys is any good. I'm going to avoid that as much as I possibly can.
Do you have interest in bats on either side of this game? Just knowing that these guys are going to give up contact. We know that for sure. Is this a spot where, you know, an underwhelming Washington team or the Arizona Cardinals are quality enough stack options for you?
I mean, the Diamondbacks overall are a fantastic stack. Third in our top stack tool, 5th in value. They're really easy to get to. They've got a really big ceiling. Their implied total today against Jake Irvin looks fantastic. Weather's great, just sort of everywhere in the country at this point. They are pulling 9.5% aggregate ownership. That is the 4th highest total of any team. I'm just under that 9.5 mark. I've got 7.5 right now. So I do like getting to Arizona. I don't think it's easy to just like straight up avoid them, given the way that their lineup looks, given the way their ownership is coming in. You've got an MPE on Emmanuel Rivera, which is really easy for access. The park in Washington is fantastic. 106 park factor to righties, 105 to lefties. So we've got big power numbers that can exist here. All of the signs point to getting to Arizona. I do think, though, that they are properly owned, and that is where I'm coming in. So I don't want to go too crazy for the Diamondbacks, but they are certainly a priority today.
Okay. Oakland, Pittsburgh. God, Oakland just what bet? Plus 210 at PNC Park, 8.5 run total here. We can talk about Caprillion, but I'd like to get into Mitch Keller. I actually saw you throw out a prize picks card earlier today where the Mitch Keller Taco Tuesday was 5.5 strikeouts. Yeah. And I saw you mention that you only had him projected at 6.1, which is interesting because his K prop everywhere else, the under is juiced, but it's at 7.5 today against an Oakland team that just is completely anemic, both at putting the ball in play and at creating runs.
Yeah, I got him at 6.2 right now. And All right, let's start from a DFS perspective because we don't really need to touch on this from a prize picks perspective. I have 53% Mitch Keller at 10,900, second most expensive pitcher on today's slate. He's 26% owned. I'm 2xing Mitch Keller. I don't want it to sound like I'm not getting to Mitch Keller. The Oakland A's stink. I think they're the second worst offense on today's slate. This game is in Pittsburgh. They nerf righty power, which is incredibly helpful. Mitch Keller is just simply good. All signs point to wanting to get to Mitch Keller, and I am doing that. So I don't want my tweet for prize picks to make it seem like I don't want to get to Keller, because I certainly do. But I don't have him necessarily projected for a massive amount of strikeouts in this spot. Ruiz leading off for Arizona, for the A's is probably a little bit of it. He does not project as a big strikeout guy via steamer, just a 20% K rate. Even Diaz in the 5-hole, 18%. Now, Noda and Rooker are both over 30. There are a lot of potential Ks in this lineup for Oakland. And I am happy to get to Mitch Keller just in general. I just don't like tacos for those sorts of things where you're just like lowering a number by one. There's too much variability in that. I want to see it where you're taking a basketball player from like 25 points to 19 or something like that. Strikeouts are just weird. You can fall into weird strikeouts. That said, from a DFS perspective, I see no reason to not pay all the way up for Mitch Keller today. I like him quite a bit more than I like Kevin Gossman. What
about Pittsburgh bats? On one hand, you go, all right, a lot of times these value stacks and good matchups, when they have higher totals than usual, we have their implied total right now, looking at our top stacks tool at 5.5.
Yeah.
Which, that's impressive. They also have, as far as value, like we have, if you guys are subs, that you have the top stacks tool gives you the team total. It gives you the opponent pitchers ownership, top stack percentage. So the likelihood that they're going to be the top stack, the top value percentage, ownership share, aggregate ownership, leverage score, and stack score. It gives you literally everything you need when you're evaluating stacks.
Yeah.
They have the second highest value among any stack today, and that's generally going to happen when you have a team like this that's not very expensive, but also 10% aggregate ownership. So they do have a negative leverage score. Is this a Pittsburgh team that you would say, all right, you know what? I do want to get to a decent amount of them today, even though they're relatively popular, or are you going the other direction?
This is essentially tied for my top stack. I've got the Giants, which I don't think anybody's going to be surprised to hear in Coors, and I've got the Pirates. They are basically free. We had them number 2 in top value. I have them 1. We had them 7th in top value. I had them 5th. So I'm a hair ahead of us, and I'm 2xing the field on current ownership. This spot is great. Other than the fact that it's not a great home run park, the matchup against Oakland is so good. The run total, fantastic. James Caprillion sucks. Sub 20% K rate via steamer. North of 5 in a projected FIP. If you're projecting for north of a 5 FIP, the likelihood that your career exists in Major League Baseball is pretty low moving forward. You should probably start looking at apartments in Korea, because you're probably going to be in the KBO in a short amount of time. So I like attacking Caprillion. I like attacking the A's. I'm loading up on the Pittsburgh side of this game. Marcano, my most exposed guy, but getting to Sawinski in a big way. Getting to Josh Palacios in the 6-hole, flat 2K, projected for 3% ownership right now. I find him to be probably the most interesting Pittsburgh bat that you can get to. If you're trying to stack them up, you got a $2,100 shortstop in the leadoff spot. You've got a 2K outfielder and a $2,200 catcher. It doesn't get much easier to stack up a team based on their current prices.
1.67 home runs per 9. Not great for Caprillion. There's a lot of spots here that just, jump off the page. And another thing too, against lefties, Josh, he's been a lot worse. He's allowed 6 long balls to lefties already.
Yeah.
411 expected WOBA. So far, his actual WOBA to lefties is 461. 348 ISO to lefties, but even his X ISO is 280.
He's not very good.
No, he's been close to his expected rates, WOBA and ISO, are close to league average against same-handed bats. Lefties have absolutely shit on him. And they got, I think, 4 lefties in the top 6, if you're including the four lefties, if you're including Reynolds, a switch hitter. Yeah, 4 lefties in the top 6.
That's why I'm pointing out someone like Josh Palacios. where no one else is going to say his name today, but you're getting the lefty bat at the flat minimum at 3% ownership in this spot with a 5+ run implied total. Over the past 2 seasons, James Kaprielian has thrown 1,400 pitches to lefties. That's not a small sample any longer. 187x ISO, 352x WOBA. Can't get swinging strikes to save his life. Like, this spot for lefties in general is great. Lefty power better in Pittsburgh too, by the way. 97 park factor for lefty power, 91 for righties. So not only can James Kaprielian not get lefties out, but this park is better for lefties than it is for righties.
Man, what's a Sawinski home run prop today? Because FanDuel and Caesars have the Dinger Tuesday where they have some great home run promos.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of fun. It's like you put $25+ on a home run prop from any game, and regardless of whether or not that home run hits, whether your bet wins or loses, you get $5 in bonus bets for every home run hit in that specific game. So like, your home run might not hit. It's capped at $25. Your home run might not hit, but if you have one in Coors and there's 5 home runs, you get everything back in bonus bets. So it's a nice little promo there. Like, clearly a plus EV. What's that?
Do you have it for Sawinski?
I'm pulling it up right now. So on FanDuel, that was my professional way of drawing that out a little bit so I could find it.
I like it.
Not bad. To hit a home run, he is plus 420.
420. My kind of prop.
I kind of like it. Kind of like it, man. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to do that for Dinger Tuesday while we're talking about this. Batting cleanup against the guy that cannot limit left-handed power. Sure, the park isn't great, but I'm not sure that's going to matter a ton in this spot.
No, not so much. And by the way, just in case it doesn't matter, I do not want the Oakland bats.
Yeah, I figured you weren't particularly interested. Keller's having a great year, man.
Hey, I know this is going to sound totally ridiculous. Talk for 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, sure.
I got to handle something. It'll be easy.
This is Jordan. He's either grabbing a drink. I think Josh is fallen off the wagon lately, or he's taking a quick piss. But when you say you got to take care of something, I don't think you're pissing. You usually just say you have to take a piss. Either way, besides the point. Hunter Brown, Kevin Gossman, Houston Astros at Toronto, 8-run total. Houston plus 120 here on the money line. They put up a monstrous amount of runs yesterday. Josh had talked a lot about that on the show. Hunter Brown, though, here's an interesting spot we can get into, talk about ownership, look over his numbers. 29% K rate for Hunter Brown this year. Really solid K rate on this guy. And you're looking at a swinging strike rate of around 12%. So nothing crazy, but pretty good. Ownership right now. Where is he in ownership? My assumption,
no, he's unowned.
I was going to say he's virtually unowned at 1.4%. Not exactly the best matchup. And you're also paying a lot of money, whereas Gossman and Mitch Keller are getting all of that ownership among the top tier, the top trio of pitchers in that 10K plus range.
Yeah, so I'm not getting to Hunter Brown.
What were you
doing? Really? Okay. So I got an alert from my doorbell that my dad had gone out onto the front porch to take a package in, but I knew how heavy the package was, so I didn't want him to try to grab that package, so I quickly ran down the steps and just grabbed it quickly and brought it into the house.
Josh does have a soul.
Yeah. Well, I knew what got delivered, and I knew how heavy it was, and I knew that if he tried to grab it, he might just tip over. So I was trying to stop him before he had to.
Now I want to know what was delivered.
It's almost like a mattress pad, basically, but it folds up. I don't know.
They can
so
get
it's like
heavy.
Kind of thick and dense. Yeah. Well, there's 2 of them too. So I would imagine not very light. Like probably 40 pounds in aggregate.
In aggregate. Back to Hunter Brown.
Sure. I have none. At 10,300, he's the 3rd most expensive pitcher on today's slate. I'm more pessimistic than we are. We had him at 11% to be a top 2 pitcher, 2% to be a top value. He's not pulling any ownership. The salary's tough. It's a terrible strikeout matchup against the Blue Jays. Springer doesn't strike out. Bichette doesn't strike out. Guerrero doesn't strike out. Merrifield, Kirk, Espinal, none of these guys strike out. So I'm avoiding Hunter Brown pretty aggressively today. I don't see it. And I kind of feel the same way about Kevin Gossman. Like, is he a really good pitcher? Yeah. Is he the most expensive pitcher on today's slate? Also, yes. Should he be? Yes. Is he 25% to be a top pitcher? Also, yes. 36% ownership here in a matchup, though, against the Houston Astros. That feels a little bit aggressive. It's so much easier. Like, it's hard for me to want to go to Kevin Gausman against Houston when Mitch Keller exists against the A's. We're talking about basically the opposite in matchup between Oakland and Houston. I would rather just load up on Keller and take my chances. Can Kevin Gausman go out and have a big day? Absolutely. He's fantastic. 36% ownership is too much. I am less than half the field on Gausman right now.
There was a time in this league not too long ago where Kevin Gausman was kind of left for dead.
He was.
You know?
I mean, he's been all over the place. He was a Brave for a brief moment. Loved him then. Weird career.
I think it was, just looking at it now. Yeah. 2019. You're like, man, this guy had so much potential and it all completely unraveled. And now, dude, 33% K rate, 6% walk rate. He's just been he has a 273 xFIP. Phenomenal.
He's good. He's
but
good.
You're right. You are paying a massive premium, and it's not exactly in the best spot either.
No, it's not as if Houston's just this giant strikeout team. Mauricio Dubon does not strike out. Bregman doesn't strike out. Kyle Tucker doesn't strike out. And even like the guys that do strike out don't strike out frequently. This is a tough spot for Gausman. Could he go out there and mow everybody down? Yeah, sure. And like, I would never talk anybody out of it. But if you're looking at Gausman and Keller, I have a hard time not picking Keller.
Do you like any bats here?
Not really. The most I have of anybody is either Bichette or Guerrero at 3%. I had this game in abundance yesterday. Blue Jays didn't really get there. Houston obviously did. This is my number 17 and my number 18 stack. Neither team's pulling any ownership. Will you ever, like, the raw talent in both lineups and the power that exists allows you to go here. If you're going to go to any side, my recommendation would be the Houston side, just because you're on the opposite end of 36% ownership from Kevin Gausman. But I don't really have it. I have one 3-man stack of the Astros, and that's it. This is not a spot I'm getting to.
Damn, we're almost at 100 likes already.
Seems light to me.
Hey, pair us up on a show and look what happens. 530 people watching with 45 minutes to go on an MLB show. Sometimes you just need the right formula, Josh.
You do need the right formula sometimes.
Appreciate you guys, though. Appreciate it. Somebody, where is this? Because, yeah, I totally remember that. Keno said, remember the good old days of Kevin Gascan? Yes, I do. And the reason I remember that is because I would constantly play him because he had good stuff. You knew he had good stuff, and it just never materialized.
Sure didn't.
But it has. It has. Baseball is a weird fucking sport, man. It's a weird sport. You don't see this often in the NFL, right? You don't see it often in the NBA. Does it happen? Sure. Yeah. It takes a guy many years to mature, and then he just becomes elite. But I mean, how many players, I don't want to derail this because we got a lot of games to go. So just ask you very quickly, how many players in either the NFL or more up your alley, the NBA, can you think of that for the first however many years were, they were fine, and then they just develop into an absolute stud?
It's not a lot. Like Victor Oladipo did it. A lot of people do it for a year. Victor Oladipo was like a bust-ish
it's an anomaly,
type guy. Then becomes an all-NBA guy, and then can't stay healthy. There's not a lot of people that make that transition from, in a weird way, like he never had the dip, but like in a weird way, Jimmy Butler started off where like he was a nothing and then became something out of sort of nowhere, but he never had the dip and recover like Kevin Gausman did. I don't really have a lot of NBA analogs.
Peyton or Baldy in the Oath said Peyton Hillis, but that's another one-year wonder.
Yeah. Well, enough to get him on the cover of Madden. Like
speaking of the cover of Madden, Robert Griffin trying to put DeMar Hamlin on the cover of Madden.
Well, like I said, it's a really nice gesture. Last year we had John Madden on the cover.
Don't do
posthumously. He's no longer with us. This year we're putting DeMar Hamlin on the cover. Very interesting to me. Also no longer with us. I like the idea of doing that moving forward. We're going to lose so many people in the NFL bubble over the years. Why not honor them by putting them on the cover of the most popular NFL game that exists.
Last time you did this, our stream got cut.
Fuck, I forgot about that. It really did.
So let's not do that. I'm like, yeah, we got 540 people watching. It's like the most we've had for an MLB show. And Josh is like, yeah, he's not a lot.
But like, he's not, though. He clearly is a clone.
Stop. Josh, we're going to. No, I don't
what were we even talking about? Was that NBA? Or was I doing an NFL show?
No, that was an NBA show, I think. Actually, I don't even remember at this point.
No,
it must have been NBA strategy. It was NBA strategy. All right.
I mean, do you think his clone is going to be good this year?
Yeah. I want to get into this, but we can't because I'm hosting the show and we have 40 minutes to go. Okay.
Oh, we're going to zip through this.
Save this for a strategy show. Hey guys, MLB strategy show, NBA strategy shows. You can catch Josh and myself there at 10 a.m. You're looking for a little entertainment intertwined with analysis. You know where to find us.
So what you're telling me is we're going to talk about Damar Hamlin being a non-real human being tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
Sure.
Okay. NBA strategy shows tomorrow.
But the whole Robert Griffin thing, like, it would bring everybody together is the silliest thing I've ever heard. It's like, stop it, dude. Stop it. Come on. It's just, well, you remember how I opened that show up?
I do.
So
I do.
All right. Boston and Cleveland. Let's talk about it. So you've got Boston, James Paxton on the toe in the rubber, the old southpaw out there. Shane Bieber on the other side of this one. Shane Bieber's having a weird season, dude. I actually want to start with him. This pitching matchup's super weird to me. This is a guy who had elite strikeout stuff before. What's funny is and you could look at his FIP, his XFIP and everything, and it suggests that, he hasn't been great. But given the lack of swing and miss stuff, the strikeout rate that has dipped from 33% to 25% to 17% over the last 3 years, the fact that he's missing no bats, you would really think that more damage would have been done than has been, given that he lived off of those strikeouts and swing and misses for quite a while.
I don't know what to do with him. He's a real problem for me. I've had this conversation with Adam a couple times. I don't know what to do with Shane Bieber because this year he's been bad. He's just been unequivocally bad. 18% K rate to lefties, 15.5 to righties, 172 X ISO to lefties. Now he's been solid enough, like limiting power and limiting contact against righties, but they're running out 7 lefties against him. Like they're aware of what's happening for Shane Bieber. He's still 9,600. That is the 5th most expensive pitcher for today. He's absolutely being priced based on his name and not by what he looks like right now. The real problem here for Bieber, my entire model is, and like any projection system worth a shit is going to be using a lot of data. Shane Bieber has a wealth of data at the MLB level. So for guys like him, when it's gone, and it's pretty clearly gone, it's really hard to project him like that without making individual changes. So he projects on paper so much better than he has been as of late. And that's really difficult to reconcile. He's 2% owned today. I have 9%. I'm happy that it's only 9. The most recent game that Shane Bieber pitched, I think I had like 40. I have a lot of trouble getting away from him. The implied run total is helpful. It's at somewhere in that 3.8 range. So there's at least a mild belief still in Shane Bieber. 9,600 is very clearly an incorrect price tag. I would much rather get to James Paxton on the opposite side.
How many games he's had made 12 starts. How many times do you think he's had more than 4 strikeouts this season?
2.
Yep. And you know who it came against? This is even crazier.
The Tigers and the A's.
Yep. I guess you're looking at it.
No, I'm not. Did I get them both right?
You got them both. You went across the board.
I don't have it. I swear to God.
That was pretty good. Maybe you should be on the cover of Madden.
Well, I thought you were going to tell me
we'll
it was
kill
like,
you first,
it's the Blue Jays and the Yankees or something.
No,
and it was going
no.
to be like the opposite, but I went with it.
No, you nailed it. The Tigers and the A's. He had 7 and 9. Other than that, Josh, he doesn't have a single game north of 4 strikeouts. That's mildly concerning at 9,600. So
you know what else? I'm going to win $100,000 tonight too.
Yeah, keep it going, man.
I'm just talking things into existence.
Keep it going. And you helped your dad as well. You did a good deed today.
I had to. That was more self-preservation for myself. I don't have to deal with it if it goes wrong.
There'd be nothing worse than seeing him just like collapse through your Ring doorbell.
Yeah.
What the fuck is in here, Josh?
Yeah. It would have been it wouldn't have been it would have been unfun.
Yeah. Not
a lot of concrete to land on.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, my front porch is not made out of cotton.
Maybe he would have fallen on the mattress covers though, and he would have been okay.
Giant boxes, waist high.
Oh yeah, and just like the sharp cardboard edges.
Yeah, it would have ended poorly.
Not good.
No.
Hey, what do you make of Paxton today, though? If we know one thing about him, it's the strikeout stuff is absolutely still there. Yeah. I still think the jury's still out on what type of Paxton we're going to see across the season. Can he stay healthy? All that good stuff. But we do know that the strikeout stuff is still there.
It is. And I have him. I've got 18% at 8,600. It's a terrible matchup. Cleveland doesn't strike out. I mean, we've got like Steve Kwan hitting leadoff with an 11% K rate. They have all but two guys in their lineup with a steamer projection below 20%. That is a terrible, terrible strikeout matchup for any pitcher. That said, 8,600, I think, is just a viable price tag. The fact that Cleveland has a 3.8 run implied total at home helps out a lot, but Paxton's gotten touched up so far now that he's back. 367 x ISO to lefties in 40 pitches. I don't want to overreact to that sort of sample. 217 to righties. People have been finding him since he's been back. I'm willing to go back to him right now, but I think the top pitcher tool that we have today is right. 14% top pitcher, 7% top value. He's 11% owned. I think his ownership is spot on. I have a little bit more. I'm relying more on old data, but I'm okay with that. There's a ceiling for James Paxton, and I'm willing to take it.
And it's also nice to see that he's thrown 100 plus pitches in 2 of his last 3. So you know that there's no real leash there.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping him from going relatively deep in this game.
Yep. Any bats here?
Not really. I've got a little bit more of the Red Sox side than I have the Cleveland side. I basically don't have the Cleveland side. 1 3-man stack, and that's it. I'm not trying to target against Paxton. If you want to go to Boston and just think that Shaden Bieber is straight ass at that point, I kind of get it. But we're talking about a team that's 20th in our top stack tool out of 24, 17th in value. Are there good bats in the Boston lineup? Yeah, there are. Is this a spot that we should be attacking for offense? Probably not. If I had to guess, this is the game with the lowest implied total in the aggregate. I've got it at 3.8 across the board for the Guardians and Red Sox. You want to call it like 4 based on our data because median type stuff. It's not a good game for offense.
How about Tony Gonsolin, Luke Weaver? Dodgers, big favorites on the road against Cincinnati. I'll tell you this much, though, Josh. 10.5 run total in this game at Great American Ballpark. So, or as you would call it, MAGA Park.
Yeah, the Make America Great Again ballpark. I love it, man. I love it. I would love to attend a game there, but you wouldn't catch me dead in Cincinnati.
Way to ingratiate yourself with the Cincinnatians.
What? Why would anybody go there? Their claim to fame is putting chili on spaghetti.
But that park is sick. I'd love to go to that park.
God. I don't. Okay.
No?
No, because then I got to eat chili spaghetti in right field. They just serve that in a bowl while you're there.
They serve it in one of those ice cream helmets. Great.
Lucky everybody.
Do you like the stacks here on either side?
Boy, do I. I mean, I have a little bit of interest in going to the Reds. I don't think Tony Gonsolin's like the most interesting guy in the world, and a 4.5 run implied total is fine, but we got to talk about the Dodgers here. Number 1 in top stack, number 4 in top value. This is the number 1 team in stack score for us. Are they expensive at the top of the lineup? Yeah, of course. But you know that's going to happen when you try to roster the Dodgers. They're essentially an all-star team. I mean, we've got billions of dollars going out in salary to the guys that are on the Dodgers. You shouldn't be surprised if their DFS salaries are high. Luke Weaver is... I don't even know if I have the words to describe Luke Weaver at this point. I mean, highly regarded prospect 6 years ago with an up and down... Like, you know, he's good when he's around, but is he going to be around? How deep does he go into the game? This park the weather. Park factor of 110, 115 for righty power, 118 for lefty power. The Dodgers lineup with more power in it than basically any other lineup that exists. Play the Dodgers if you can. And there's enough mid-tier pitching where it's not hard to put together a Dodger stack. This is the spot you want to get to.
And a great park, too. I mean,
they're going to make the Dodgers great again today.
What about Reds bats?
I actually do have a little bit of interest in the Reds bats. The park has a lot to do with it. It's a great offensive environment. Even as an underdog, they don't have like the worst implied total in the world. Are they good? Not really. There are some good bats for sure. The big piece for Cincinnati today is De La Cruz coming up. Very, 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 very. I can't put enough varies on it. Highly regarded prospect coming up for Cincinnati. He's the real thing. Like he's no joke of a prospect. It's not like, oh, he's the 12th best guy for the Reds. Like this is a guy that you should get to, different. He's a different dude as a prospect. Here's the explanation. One sentence explanation of Elly De La Cruz on FanGraphs. He's the number 1 prospect. He's the number 5 prospect overall in the MLB universe. Mm-hmm. De La Cruz is a boom or bust prospect who could really go bust or go supernova. That's what his ceiling is today. Well, not today, but like in general. Supernova ceiling. This is a different dude. And seeing him in the lineup now at flat 2K because DraftKings is asleep at the wheel.
At shortstop, too.
Yeah, we just did this a couple of weeks ago. Bringing up a shortstop at a flat 2K. This is another one where you got to do it. You have, to get to him today is a great spot. I'm not a big Tony Gonsolin guy. Not a lot of strikeouts. He's like a league average pitcher. The park is awesome. I think the Reds are kind of sneaky today. We have them 12th in top stack, 11th in top value, 9th in ownership. If you want to go that way in this spot with the highest owned guy, like Jake Fraley's 4% owned, no one's joining you on that Cincinnati path. Go that way. Yeah. I like Cincinnati. They're sneaky.
And they do have a 4.7 applied total, so it's not bad.
No, not at all.
Yeah. This guy's got speed too, power and speed.
He has a chance to go supernova. Like, they're not kidding around.
12 home runs and 11 stolen bases at AAA this year.
Yeah, he was like, I mean, we know why he's coming up now, especially for Cincinnati, but this is the time, man. This is the time.
All right.
Everyone should go out of their way to watch this if they can.
Absolutely. New York Mets. Yeah, that's batting cleanup too.
Maybe it looks bad for a while. He's young. He's 21 years old. We talked about this yesterday, I guess. He was born in 2002.
That's crazy.
I hate it so much, man. I hate it so much. It makes me feel so old.
We got props on him. Let's see. Yep. Home run prop plus 400.
I mean you don't want to take that.
I'm not saying to take it. I'm just saying there's kind of short odds on a guy like this.
Yeah, totally agree there. That's shorter than you would have expected it to be.
Jake Fraley's plus 500, so 5-1. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Should be fun. Should be a fun game. New York Mets, Atlanta Braves, Carlos Carrasco, Bryce Elder. For the sake of time, I'll throw this one over to you. 9.5 run total, Mets plus 140 on the money line. Any interest in pitching here?
Yeah, man, I can't get enough of Carlos Carrasco. Just a really talented dude.
Hey, he was at one point, man. He was.
He sure was. He is not now. No. Real bad. 15-ish% strikeout rate. He's got a 6 FIP this season. He's taking on the Atlanta Braves. Braves have a 5.5 run implied total. You can't go to Carrasco. One of the worst options you can get to today. Bryce Elder, similarly, 9,400. If you're going to pay 9,400 for Bryce Elder here in a terrible strikeout matchup, it's not really the spot. There are better options. I don't really see pitching for today.
It's hard to feel good about pitching here. Carlos Carrasco is coming off 2 nice games, 6+ innings, 1 earned in those, but he's also allowing 1.72 home runs per 9 in the 6 or so starts that he's made this season.
Not
great.
Not
exactly like he has the easiest matchup today either.
No, you can't go that direction. He's bad now. And I don't see any reason that we should suspect him to be better in the future. Do you?
No. At this stage, no, I don't. It's tough to see that happening. You see this a lot. They hang around for a little while. I mean, like we talked about Julio Teheran yesterday as well. Just another one of those guys where, didn't allow a ton of runs or anything like that, but it's still Julio Teheran, and he's just never going to have the same stuff. He had a pretty decent game, but still, like these type of guys will fizzle out quicker than they, somehow find stardom again. But anyway, Atlanta, 4th highest top stack probability on the slate in our top stack tool. 2nd highest owned team on the slate as well. Very, very negative leverage score here though for the Braves today. Are you getting to a lot of them?
Oh, my Braves. I'm not. And would I mind? No, not really, but they're over-owned today. We have them 4th in top stack, 21st in top value, 7th in stack score at 4%, owned 13% of the time. Now, if the reason that you can't get to a team is price, I'm less worried about that. They are a very clearly good stack today. Their top end is as good as anybody else, but they are very expensive. Now, you can offset that by having someone like Acuna in the leadoff spot, helps with the $6,400 total, but I find them incredibly difficult to get to given their ownership. And I say that as someone that is significantly higher on Atlanta today than our tools are. I think their top stack odds are higher. I think their top value odds are higher. And I am still aggressively fading Atlanta. I just don't see it. Do I want to target against Carrasco? Absolutely. I'm not confident in his skill set at all on the opposite side. But if they're already this owned on a 12-game slate, you will find better options elsewhere.
No question. And by the way, you guys hear us mentioning the top stack tool, top pitchers tool, all that stuff, top hitters tool, ownership, player projections, MLB lineup generator, you name it. Not just baseball, but any sport, like still basketball happening, PGA, big news there today. But all of our PGA tools, the top golfers tool, ownership, projections, NASCAR. The great thing about this time of year is a lot of people are going to go, yeah, there's no football and basketball is about to end. There's still a lot of sports out there, and there's going to be a ton of large prize pools. All of our tools are 50% off. Everything's 50% off. If you wanted to do a week for one sport, or a week for every sport, or you wanted to do a month for one sport, say maybe just like baseball, or a month for every sport, going, you know what? Why am I not dabbling in MMA with monster prize pools and PJ and NASCAR? Oh, and if I use the tools, I don't necessarily have to be a savant with any of these. Like maybe I am with baseball. Adam says it a lot. We all say it. Sometimes it's better not to know these sports so your bias can't get in the way. Like you.
So many people do.
Yeah, you're just analytically minded in the sense that you don't let bias get in the way, but because you do actually know the sports. But I oftentimes during an all-star break or during a downtime see a ton of tweets directed at Stochastic Hall of Famer, at us being like, hey, I don't know this. I just played what the tools told me to play and crushed. And a lot of times that's because you're not making tweaks that are minus EV.
Yeah, it's really important to separate yourself from like overthinking things, because knowing the sport and understanding what DFS is are two separate things. This is an optimization problem. We are trying to optimize lineup constructions based on salary. It's the perfect way to look at it is to look at these NBA slates that we've had in the finals, where it's not that we're saying that Jimmy Butler isn't good, but his salary is causing you to just have to approach the situation differently. And you have to, that's the real hard part, I think, to a lot of people in DFS, being able to separate a skill set from what that skill set is efficiently on a dollar for dollar basis.
Absolutely.
And that is where people break down.
Yep. 50% off all the tools, man. Weekly, monthly, whatever. Or you just want to get the MLB lineup generator for $4.48 for your first week, and let that remove all bias from the process. Although you can swap players and you can lock players. So it's not that sometimes nuance isn't a good thing, but MLB lineup generator, great tool for those of you that may not have a ton of time in the day, may not even have a big bankroll, but you want to get a tool that helps you win, that helps you build good stacks, and we throw the bad ones out of the way. So links to both, whether it's the lineup generator you're looking for or any subscription, 50% off for a week or month. All those links, are in the description and in the chat. All right, let's keep it moving here.
Let's do it.
Do we have anything else for New York Mets and Atlanta, or do you want to move on to Baltimore, Milwaukee?
No, I mean, the Mets aren't really pulling any ownership, and they shouldn't against Bryce Elder.
All right, Kyle Gibson, Freddie Peralta, Baltimore, Milwaukee. Milwaukee slight favorites at home, 8.5 run total here. Not a terrible park either.
No.
Looking at the top pitchers tool right now, Kyle Gibson getting around 5% ownership, pretty much where he should be. He's 5.5% top 2 probability on DraftKings, so the likelihood that he finishes as a top 2 pitcher in a 2-pitcher format. Freddie Peralta, however, 29% ownership. We have this as a wildly low leverage score. Only 13% top 2 probability on Freddie Peralta, who's 7,700, but still has some strikeout stuff. Which side of this do you fall on tonight?
I mean, I guess I fall on the Peralta side. I'm a little higher on Peralta than we are. We have him at 13% top pitcher, 13% top value. I have it at 18 and 18. So it's close. But at 7,700, is he over-owned 29%? Yes. On my last run, I had 24%. So a little bit lighter. But he's a real strikeout dude. Is it a great strikeout matchup against Baltimore? No. Is it a great park? Not really. Not for power. But 4.1-ish run implied total for Baltimore. That's on the lower side for today. It's not one of the extremes, but it's not a great spot for Baltimore. He's a little over-owned, but like, you can't get away from Freddie Peralta. I think Freddie Peralta is a better option than Clark Schmidt today at $200 savings. Schmidt at 29%, Peralta at 29%. I'd rather have Peralta than Schmidt. Your mileage may vary a little bit there, but I think it's right. Like, he has to be getting ownership today.
Yeah. Okay. What about bats on the Baltimore side?
Not for me, I guess. 19th in top stack, 18th in top value for me. I don't have any. I don't see it. I don't really see the Brewers side of this one either. Gibson's not a guy I'm ever really looking to target against. We have them as the 17th ranked stack in our stack score. It seems about right. This is a game where outside of Peralta, I don't think I'm going to have much at all.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, only reason I asked is because Peralta had given up a decent amount of power this year. Nothing insane. I think like 1.4 home runs per 9. But there's so many good offenses on this slate too. That's the problem.
There is. We got an update to ownership 2 minutes ago. On the off chance that you hadn't refreshed, that means we're going to have top stacks and top pitchers as well.
Let me refresh everything. Did they update yet, or just ownership so far?
I assume they all did. Okay. If ownership went at 2 minutes, I assume everything did.
Yep. Okay.
So
cool.
When I see 2 minutes, it's just like there's a decent chance that you didn't know that happened.
I didn't. Yeah, that's good. All right. And plus, we still got plenty of time. So
sure do. That's why we have plenty of time to talk about whatever malarkey that I was trying to get us into.
No, we still got 4 games, brother. This is just good pace.
No.
This is good pace.
Hard no.
This is a good pace without you leaving the reservation.
Is it a medium pace?
St. Louis and Texas.
Nothing.
Well, what'd you say?
Is it a medium pace? Were you an Adam Sandler CD guy by any chance?
I remember them and I thought they were, funny, but I couldn't quote them word for word like you apparently can.
Yeah, medium pace is a track that people should be listening to more and more.
I don't know it.
It's it is a sexual pace for the song, but he wants you to go at a medium pace. He needs you to slow down. Wants a shampoo bottle up the bum. It's a good track. It's a good track.
Yeah, I'm out on butt play, dude.
piece of shit car on there. The GOAT. I mean, he had a lot of good tracks back in that.
But like that song, for what it's worth, I love Adams. Like when I go back, you and I both admitted during Click, I mean, some tears came down. Yeah.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I cry aggressively at that.
One Adam Sandler movie. Look what you fucking did to me, man. Here we go. One Adam Sandler movie that I love that never gets talked about, with Nelly, with Michael Irvin, with
Longest Yard.
Joey Diaz, bro.
Coco on there.
Yeah, Longest Yard was sick.
Great movie. Came out while I was in the
Slammer
store. Fantastic. Great movie. Love it. Courtney Cox too, as well, his girlfriend at the start.
Yeah, and that was the beginning of something new for Courtney Cox, if you know what I mean.
I don't know what you mean.
Her boobs were way bigger in that movie.
Oh, is that
than they'd ever been. Oh,
she was just really excited to be with David Arquette at the time.
Courtney Cox looked hotter in Longest Yard than I think I've ever seen her in my life.
I don't know. She's a tough one to peg down because pretty much consensus level stuff was that you just wanted to smash Aniston first. So Courtney Cox got like the short run.
Well, Jennifer Aniston ain't in Longest Yard, brother. All right.
No, she's not. But, well, I mean, you're picking Aniston first, right?
Generally speaking, yeah, but not in Longest Yard.
FMK, Monica, Rachel, Phoebe, go.
Oh, I mean, Phoebe's just getting thrown out the window. I'm not thinking twice about it.
Ooh, interesting. So I think she could be the F there.
I would just gone.
I don't know, man. I could see that one being premier F.
I'd probably, I don't know. Either the other two wouldn't make a difference to me, honestly.
Well, so it's interesting because
Phoebe's gone. Phoebe's gone in a heartbeat.
I think there's a path to killing Rachel in this scenario. Now the stream
getting cut off. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
I think you could find out that Phoebes is a tomcat in the sack, and that's a very interesting play compared to the other three. I can see Rachel being sort of a stick in the mud, trying to do anything. A lot of just straight missionary, no change ups. And then Monica is a fantastic cook, which I think is very interesting from a Mary perspective. And at that point in time, if the smash is the best with Phoebe and the Mary is the best with Monica, you got to kill the hottest one in the group. That's wild to think about. That's a take.
And it's wrong. Phoebe's going straight off the fire escape, dude. I don't even think about it. I don't even think that car, you're going to hear that car alarm go off real quick. If I get that question, I'm in a room with all three of them.
Is it because you think she's got a smelly cat?
No, it's because it's because Monica and Rachel are just far finer than Phoebe. All right, hold on. We got 4 games. See what I mean, man?
You trying to tell me that you wouldn't hit Lisa Kudrow?
Listen, I told you. Straight off the roof.
You're nuts. You're nuts. You're nuts. I got the play here right now. Kill Aniston.
No. St. Louis and Texas. Matthew Liberatore, Dane Dunning. 9.5 run total here in Texas. We can on a deeper dive with 12 games, dude.
I'll do whatever I still
want. I still got to talk about Bet365 with Iowa, which is
That's
insane.
True. That's true.
Let's get through this one first, though. What are your thoughts on the pitching matchups for this one?
Yeah, this is a quick no. 3% ownership coming into Dunning, 1% ownership coming into Liberatore, 0% coming in from anybody that I'm rostering. Peace out on these cats. I'm good. Dunning and Liberatore are the Rachel Green of all of this. Get rid of them. Almost call it Geller. I guess it's close in the long run.
Do you like bats then, if you hate pitching?
A little bit. We've got the Rangers 7th, 21st in top value. They're probably a little bit overowned. I see that as a path that you can get to. Maybe not the most exciting spot in the world, but this might be the easiest game to cross off. Like, you don't want Dunning. You don't want Liberatore. Cardinals are 13th in stack score and the Rangers are 10th. If you're on a 12-game slate and there's 24 teams, if you're not in the top 10 of stack score, you're probably not the best option. So this is why we had a lot of time, because I'm drawing a line straight through this game. We only got 3 left.
All right. information that could have been brought to my attention yesterday. Another great flick.
So I have been
Julia.
This is going to sound really bad, but I have been aggressively listening to Somebody Kill Me from the Wedding Crasher or the Wedding Singer soundtrack.
Kill me. I want to die.
yeah. It's probably not a good thing to say that out loud.
Put a bullet in my head.
It's very repeated. In my on repeat playlist on Spotify, it is currently, it's 6th.
He loves her and she loves this guy over here. And he loves somebody else. That was great. And then the lady boy was singing the one song too.
The what now?
What?
The what?
All right. San Francisco then and Colorado. Here we go. Coors Field. Sean Manaea, Dinelson Lamet. Run total here is Jordan. I messed something up there when I transferred this over. It's a very high run total in this game. The over under is sitting at 11. Josh, at Coors. Let's talk about pitching quickly and then get to some bats here.
I think we're done talking about pitching quickly.
Okay, good.
I mean, like Lamet's 5,100. Manaea as the long man is 5,500. Is there value in the pitchers? Yeah, neither guy's owned and they shouldn't be.
All right. So
it's real hard to talk about pitching in Coors.
No. I don't want you to. You can't like confidently play Lamet in a game like this. You just
I would sound like an asshole if I was really pushing pitching here today. I push pitching in Coors a lot.
Yeah, and but this one's tough. You don't know how long Manaea is going to go either, and plus it's a bad matchup. Like there's just nothing appealing about it. Top Stack Tool has Manaea at 0.5% owned. Lamet at 0.7%. No, we don't need to get into it. We should get into the bats here. Top stack percentage for San Francisco, second highest on the slate. It is remarkable though, dude, that Colorado so often this season, even at Coors, has had modest top stack scores while their opponent just kind of towers over them there. That's been a struggle, dude. So yeah, San Francisco clearly the best team here of the two.
Yeah, and this is a team that I'm getting to aggressively, even as a chalky lineup. This is basically my 1B with the Pirates. I'm getting to the Giants as much as I can. It's Colorado. They've got a 6+ run implied total. They're a good team just in general. There's a ton of power in this order. I don't even even the lineup itself is really easy to get to. I don't think that I'm reinventing the wheel here. The San Francisco Giants in Coors are a really good play today. I don't think that needs to be broken down. I'll be honest. I like Colorado relative to where the field is quite a bit more than anybody else. They're unowned right now. Like basically unowned. I've got like 8-9% of Colorado. This is a spot to me that I find to be very interesting. Are they any good? No. Do you want to face the pitching that's coming into San Francisco? No, not at all. They still have a 5.5+ run implied total. This is a much better spot for Colorado than they're getting credit for in the ownership. If you're looking to be different on a day like today, I mean, we have Elias Diaz 4% owned. That's the highest mark of anybody on the Rockies.
Really?
We've got him as a 4.5% chance to be the top stack. They're 1.5% owned. Even if you want to say that that's like too low and it's 3, if you had 6% of everybody of the Rockies, you'd feel pretty good about it today. I think Colorado is underrepresented.
I hear you. I don't know how long Manaea goes, but he's allowing a 280 ISO to righties this year too.
I gave him 3 innings. I don't think he's useful today.
Yeah. No, I was saying that if he does, it could be a pretty decent matchup in a power park like Coors for the Rocky Bats. The problem is we just don't know if he's only going to go 3 innings, and then that's not something you're looking to target because it's just not enough.
No, it's not enough at all.
All right. 10 down, 2 to go.
Can't wait. Gotta pee.
All right. Before we do, though, I mentioned it earlier. If you're in Iowa, if you reside in the state of Iowa, for the first time in your life, you can rejoice. Because usually people go, oh, you live in Iowa, huh? Well, today you can go, fuck you, pal. Yeah, I do live in Iowa because BetMGM just went live It Bet365, I should say, just went live in Iowa. And the promo that they've got going on right now will blow your mind. I say this seriously. It's coming to Pennsylvania soon, so be on the lookout for that. I'm going to take advantage of it. What's the problem here?
Well, I'm not going to take advantage of it. That's Pennsylvania. Is it coming to North Carolina?
You don't even have sports betting yet.
I know.
In Iowa, right now, they just went live yesterday. $1 bet is $365 in bonus bets. It is absurd. Now, if you're in Colorado or you're in Virginia or you're in New Jersey or you're in Ohio and you still haven't signed up at Bet365, because now there's only 5 states. There were 4, now there's 5 states that you can take advantage of this. If you're in one of those 4 states, they used to have the 365, one in the 365, but it only lasts for a month after they launch in each state. It's still 1 in the 200, which again is the best deal you're going to find out there. You deposit $10, you bet $1 single dollar. So you bet 10% of that, $1, and you turn it into $200 in bonus bets. Again, in this country, and I don't know what's going on in, Lithuania as far as their sports betting products, but I can tell you in America, this is the best promo you're going to find right now. But in Iowa, $1, it's on, I think they plan on doing this 30 days, $1, $365 in bonus bets. Link is in the description. Link is in chat. Honestly, Josh, I look at it this way. Even if you are not big into sports betting, you should be running to put $10 in and bet $1 because it's $365 in bonus bets. You could spray them with your eyes closed and lose them all and still only be down $1 at the end of the day. Or you've built up a bankroll and you go, I don't like sports betting, but now I can withdraw all of this money that I didn't have yesterday.
You kind of hit on the nail on the head there, where being involved in sports betting in this scenario is incredibly irrelevant. Everybody here is in the industry of wanting to have more money than they have at this particular moment. That's why everybody watches this show. That's why we do this kind of stuff. I want to have more money tomorrow than I do today in my best case scenario. And this is a way to do that with essentially zero effort. You don't even have to like the things that you bet on to run through it and get that money back out if you need to. Sports betting is an endeavor that's different than DFS, where you can be bad and never be good. You pick a lot of sports bets, flip a coin style, and it's not going to make much of a difference. You're just going to be 50-50 for a while, and you can tread water long enough that you just have now more money in your pocket. This deal is so easy to want to get to. I'm so jealous. I'm not jealous enough to move to Iowa. I'd have to really hate myself for that. But if I was in Iowa, this is as good as it gets.
Iowans got something to celebrate now, man. I always say it like this. If someone walked up to you on the street and was like, give me $1 and I'll give you $365 in return, you'd look at them odd. You'd think you were certainly about to get robbed. But then you'd be like, well, screw it. It's $1. In this case, Bet365 has been around longer than most, every sports book. So we know it's legit. Link in the description and in chat. Bet $1, get $365 if you're in Iowa. Welcome to the Bet365 family, Iowans. If you're in Colorado, Virginia, Ohio, or New Jersey, bet $1, get $200. So those 5 states, all fantastic offers. All right. Hey, what do you want to do with Chicago Cubs and the LA Angels? I'll throw this one to you, and then I'm not even going to set the table here because we got 2 more games to get to before we toss it over to Live Before Live.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Anderson is a good enough value option at 5,600. He doesn't strike anybody out, but he's essentially free. The park's not great. There are strikeouts in the Cubs lineup. He's 6% owned. Seems about right. Don't go to Hayden Wesneski. Not very good. Just avoid that one. If you're going to a side of this game, it's kind of a coin flip. 5% ownership coming into the Angels, a little over 4 coming into the Cubs. Neither one of these teams look like major priorities. You can have a couple, getting to Ohtani and Trout is going to be better than anything that's on the Cubs side. They're just perfect middle of the pack teams on both ends. I don't really have much to say about the Cubs. I don't really have much to say about the Angels. I don't have anything to say about Anderson. I don't have anything to say about Wesneski. I just want this game to be 4-3 after 9 and totally useless.
I'm okay with that. I think we have a lot to talk about with Seattle and San Diego, though. Seattle and San Diego.
We do.
Because Joe Musgrove, top 4, top 2 so 4th in top 2 probability, behind Clark Schmidt, Mitch Keller, and at the top, Kevin Gossman. Logan Gilbert, though, because Musgrove's at 14%, 31% ownership. Logan Gilbert, 11.7% top 2 probability, 4.7% ownership. One of the best leverage scores on the slate. This game has a 7.5 total, so not high at all. I don't know, man. Like San Diego has a 4.2 implied total in this one. Very low. No surprise at all. Seattle at 3.9. I know you like Musgrove a lot. That's why I want to start with Logan Gilbert. Do you have any interest here with that discount in ownership?
I don't really. And it doesn't have anything to do with his talent level. I just don't find him to be necessary. I had one lineup with him on my last run. He's 12% top 2 pitcher, 3% top 2 value on DK in our tool today. He's 5% owned, and I think that's about right. The Padres offense is arguably the best on today's slate. If you want to say it's Atlanta, if you want to say it's the Dodgers, we can say that those 3 are probably the best 3. There's not a lot of strikeouts here. Bogarts doesn't K, Soto, Machado, Cronenworth. These guys just don't strike out. So can Logan Gilbert go out there and have a really good day? Yeah, he can, but there are just better options on today's slate. I understand why he's not getting the ownership. It is not something I'm interested in. I would much rather go to Mitch Keller today than go to Logan Gilbert. Musgrove, on the other hand, is a different story. There are quite a bit of strikeouts in the Mariners lineup outside of Crawford and France. He's 7,800, and that's where you see a very, very big disparity here, where that price tag just immediately works. The implied run total backs up any interest that you would have in Joe Musgrove. I, on my last run, had 52% Joe Musgrove. This is the most exposed pitcher for me today. It is a late night hammer, but Joe Musgrove is the guy that I want the most.
We're going to get to 200 likes on an MLB show. Not bad. MLB, we don't draw the same.
It's probably the Friends conversation, man. People just wanted more of it.
Yeah, having fun. It's been a fun show, dude. Always
it has. They brought up, do you have one for Saved by the Bell? Kelly, Lisa, and Jesse?
I don't remember. I mean, I watched Saved by the Bell, but I don't remember.
What? Is that an age thing?
No, like I watched it. I just have an awful memory. For reasons that...
Oh, dude, it's Saved by the Bell. I'm not asking you some ridiculous... I'm not asking you about California Dreams.
I don't know, man. I can pull them up real quick. We got to go.
That's sad. I mean, we're killing Jesse, so it's not really much of an effort here.
If you're FMK, Dylan said F to screech clearly. That's going to be tough. You're going to have to exhume.
I've watched him F in the past.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes, he had the sex tape. That's right.
Oh, he had a sex tape?
Was it good?
I don't know.
Oh, you were just in the room.
Yeah, hole in the wall.
Well, fly, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully he didn't dangle anything through that and hope you got a nibble.
Why do you think he's no longer with us? Ooh.
Any interest in bats for Seattle or San Diego before we get out of here?
No, I mean, Musgrove's good. Logan Gilbert's good. This is the number 21 and 22 ranked teams in top stack today. There's no offense that you can prioritize here in this late game. The pitching's too good.
All right. Hey, you guys are the best. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Don't go. Who's up next?
Oh.
Greg and Neil coming up next. Greg's going to showcase the new MLB Sims tool as well. We ran out of time. See, I told you. Ran out of time. It wasn't on the run sheet anyway, but
couldn't have seen that one coming.
I would 100% stick around for that. The tool's going to revolutionize the way people play DFS, and I don't say that tongue in cheek. I say dead seriously. You know, if Josh has a reaction like that, you know it's true, because you don't usually feign interest in something that you don't think is going to be big. So
even if you don't like our tool or anything that we've put together in this case, Pandora's box got opened yesterday. That's what matters. Get it now.
Coming up next. 12-game slate. Don't go anywhere. They're taking you all the way up till first pitch. Appreciate you guys hanging out as always. Bet365, man. Iowa, baby. It's your time to celebrate. $1 in the 365 and all those other 4 states I mentioned. You still got a great promo there. And all of our subscriptions, 50% off. One sport, any sport, monthly, weekly, does not matter. Links to everything in the description. If you have any questions, hit me up on Twitter at Lofty_D. My DMs are open. Hit us with a follow too at Josh Engleman, and shout out to Jordan Klein for producing this one as always. We'll see you guys. Good luck.
NBA strategy show tomorrow. We're going to be crazy. Yeah.
Yo, it's that time of week again. Time to induct some of you fine people into the Stochastic Hall of Fame and give away some free months of Stochastic Plus Platinum, $120 value. All you got to do to get involved, get up on the board. Let us do the bragging for you and get that free sub. Download the Stochastic profile picture at stochastic.com/avatar and tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF. You finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, boom, you're up here. And you got a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum, and we're in business. Let's get into it. We got a lot of big winners for this week, starting it off with Brandon Wagner. Stochastic, I finally shipped one, nearly 3 years to close the tourney out solo. Thanks for all the help over the years. Love it. $70,000 battery, 10K to the Crypto Cowboy. Congrats, Brandon. Happy to see it happen to the good guys. And Brett, Stochastic HOF, end again. Yeah, he's been on a heater in the 100K 4-point play. 7,500 NBA showdown for Brett. That's the second or third time he's been up here in the past couple of weeks. And how about, is it Snays 10? Snays 10 DFS? Well, I thought I was joining the esteemed Hall of Fame. However, a change of Barnes reaching by error to a hit in the 9th, no less, knocked me to 4th. Still a great day. And thanks to all the Stochastic team, tools, YouTube shows, my best GPP finish ever. Yeah, man, not a bad consolation for not getting in 4th place in the relay throw, $5,000. Congrats, dude. Phillips, still not a bad ROI. Chop with 20 others, but I'll take it. Thanks to the crew. Keep up the good work. Yeah, that's a chop, but 115 in the $2,400 is a big win any day of the week. Dave DFS, nice tools with the salute. 6 picks in prize picks. 6-pick flex play. $2,500 on a $100 flex picks play. Huge hit there. And Michael Pavlik, I know I'm late, but does this get me into the Hall of Fame? 30K mini max. Yeah, assuming you didn't chop that a bunch of different ways, my guess is you definitely didn't, given by the prize pool. $3,000 for Nightmare 1993 certainly gets you into the Hall of Fame, get you that 3-month subscription as well. And Dave Oliver, thank you guys for great slate breakdowns and the best tools in the business. 20K Tuesday MLB pinch hit, $500 for Elway's Army. And Professional finished 3rd out of 28,000. Thanks to Adam and Josh. Does this get me into the Hall of Fame? Yes, sir, it does. We checked that, Josh and I, actually, on the strategy show. You only chopped it, I think, one way. 3rd place, TMMC, $87. Get you the free sub. It's a wonderful thing. Him downstairs. And they be saying Lofty and Josh don't be talking NBA. I can't tell. It's a chop, but money is money. 1st place out of 5,900. Yeah, love to see that for DraftKings. $353 there on $13 of entries. And Mood 77 finally made it into the Hall of Fame. Been watching Deeper Dives for a while and learning baseball DFS. Thanks to Josh and Adam for the advice. Took down 1st and 4th in the FanDuel Beanball and won over $1,000 on a $2 entry. I've said it once, I'll say it a million times, guys. You know it. You want to get into the Hall of Fame. As long as you have the avatar, doesn't matter if you're entering 5-cent contests or $25 contest. As long as you're top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more rocking the avatar, you're getting in just like anybody else would. And Jonathan, I've never sweated all the way to the last batter in my lineup for 1st place like this before, but man, it sure was fun. I really feel like all you at Stochastic are underrated in my book. Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for everything. 2nd out of 43,000 for Jonathan. Nice, brother. And then Jesus Figueroa, thanks for the projections and info. Hit a little bankroll builder. $250 in the MLB pinch hit. And we close it out with Adam Prindle. Big shout out to Lofty, Josh, and Underdog for the win. They had the most insane payout booster the other day, which was if you placed $5 and had Nikola Jokic over under 27.5 points. If you hit all 5, you turn $5 into 500. And we had a ton of people just raining money down on him the other day. Adam Prindle's one of them. Goes 5 for 5 on Underdog. Love to see it. Remember, guys, use the avatar. Tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF and get a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. Shout out and congrats to all of the winners. We'll see you back here for another.
What's happening, everybody? It is time for another Stochastic MLB Live Before Lock. We got MLB today, and then NBA is going to be back in action for Game 3 of the NBA Finals tomorrow. For today, we're sponsored by Bet365. I'm going to be telling you guys a little bit more about how you can make really the easiest money possible when you go and sign up at Bet365. If you live in Iowa, we'll be hitting on that in a little bit. In the interim, Neil and I are going to be talking about some baseball. So as you come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. By the way, Neil, do you know about these California wildfires that are going on?
Have not heard about. There's new California wildfires right now?
Oh, sorry, Canada wildfires.
Oh yeah, Canada. I mean, we've the air quality in Minnesota, like it gets down here, you can tell.
So if you look out the window of my office right now, where I'm looking out right here, it is completely smoggy outside. Like it is, like you could see the smoke everywhere. It's pretty crazy. So that anyway,
wow.
Because it impacts me, that's how I found out about the Canada wildfires. If it wasn't for that, I'd be like, I wouldn't know, right? The animals, whatever it is they're going through, I don't want it to happen, but it wouldn't be something that would catch my eye at all. But for today, yeah, we've got pretty smoggy, smoky conditions out there. Looks like you're keeping yourself protected with the flannel.
I am. I'm keeping myself protected from the weather. I mean, it's not too bad today. It was worse like a week or two ago here.
Yeah, it's pretty bad out here today. Not as bad as it is for Eric Lindquist, as Mike Campbell points out in the YouTube chat. He wants to know, did you do a wellness check on Eric Lindquist after the PGA news today?
I thought you guys were going to do a PGA show.
I'm not sure I would call it a wellness check, but I made fun of him on social media a lot today. Does that count?
I count that for sure.
Yeah. I know he's doing poorly. I'll put it that way. I know he's doing poorly, and I know that I did not help that cause at all today. I know that Josh Engleman didn't help that cause. I know that Adam Scher didn't help that cause. We had Laufey showed up on our Rainmakers UFC show that we were doing earlier in the day just to make sure as well that Eric was not doing well. So yeah, I did make sure that he's doing poorly. If that's the question you're asking, Mike Campbell, yes, a lot of people at the company, all of Eric's friends and coworkers, made sure that he's doing poorly today. So everything checks out.
Absolutely. Jake Anderson says it's pretty bad where I am in Saskatchewan. I didn't know that you had windows in your mom's basement, Jake. That's good for you. That's exciting.
Well, it could be it could just be he could live in the garage.
No, I know that he lives in his mom's basement along with Jesse downside of me. They, they're brothers. Obviously they live in the basement together. So I know their backstory.
So I misread. I didn't realize that it was that Jake. So yeah, I didn't realize that they're like, oh yeah, that's true. So yeah, Jake is in mom's basement with Jesse. And yeah, that is a pretty cool deal that you guys have. So I guess part of the basement must be above ground then?
I guess so. I don't know how that works. Maybe they got like a telescope that goes out so they can see out into the world.
It's a good deal. Mike Campbell following up. It could not have happened to a nicer person. I only have ill wishes towards Eric for the most part. Like there's never been a point in time where I've been like, boy, that guy deserves the world. Everything he has coming to him, all of the tilts, Paul George getting scratched, he had it all coming to him. It's all karma. This is where we're at right now. And now his beloved PGA Live Tour, I'm sure he's excited about it. We've got Eric is going to be in, I know somebody sent me earlier today, a Live Tour bucket hat. And I think that would be an excellent gift for Eric.
Oh my God.
I'm certainly considering getting it for him.
Or you should just get it for yourself and wear it on hats. I mean, I think that would tilt him enough.
I cannot wait for that. By the way, Bet365, listen to this deal. If you deposit $1, just $1 over at Bet365, and if you live in Iowa, now available in Iowa, you bet $1 over at Bet365, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. Just sign up using the link that we have below. Also, they operate currently in New Jersey, Colorado, Ohio, Virginia, but Iowa's the new one. And I know that we've already seen a handful of people sign up there. It's the rumor is about 50% of the Iowa population has already signed up, which is 4 of them, including Nathan Joyce and his dog. So get in on the action. It's becoming very popular in Iowa. Sign up at Bet365 and just collect this easy money you'll ever get. Bet $1, get $200 in bonus bets. If you or anybody you know has a gambling problem, call or text the number 1-800-GAMBLER. There's got to be a drinking number for you as well, Neil, but this is the gambling hotline, which we do not cover here. Let's start talking about the baseball slate now. And, you and I did the strategy show together this morning as well. A little bit different though, because you were hosting and now I'm hosting. So we reverse
totally
roles
different
here. Yeah. Which, flipping roles, it's usually something Eric and I usually do more, but we could do this as well. We could we could flip it around. One thing that's changed a little bit from today, or from this morning, I should say, is the pitcher ownership's become a little bit flatter. When you and I were doing the show this morning, Kevin Gausman is projected for close to 40% ownership on DraftKings. Now, though, the tide has changed a little bit. We've got a handful of popular pitchers grouped really closely together. Gausman, 33.6%. Mitch Keller, 28.4%. Clark Schmidt, 29.8%. Joe Musgrove, 30.9%. Freddie Peralta, 28.2%. We'll talk about FanDuel in a second. But first, starting with DraftKings, where all these popular pitchers are grouped so closely together, do you have a preference amongst these chalk options?
I mean, it's still probably Gausman. I mean, the matchup is so bad against Houston. Obviously not easy there. A little bit of negative leverage, but he is our top pitcher overall in terms of top 2 pitcher odds. Kind of debating. Keller is up there going up against Oakland. We talked about him, how well he's doing this year. Great matchup against Oakland. I guess he is slightly cheaper and like only slightly worse odds of being a top 2 pitcher with 5% lower ownership. So maybe I'll switch it. Maybe Keller is my favorite of the really high end chalky options. The chalk is all chalk for a reason. So I'm like, yeah, they're all like in pretty like equal spots. Like none of them in fantastic spots other than Keller. Clark Schmidt, obviously better matchup against the White Sox, but he's not as good as Kevin Gausman. I'll go with Keller as my favorite of the chalky options. I don't have a strong take on it. Like I'm going to be using lineup generator to make my lineups, and I'm not going to like get rid of my lineups with the wrong pitchers. I'm going to let lineup generator choose my pitchers for me because I think all of the chalk options are pretty good here. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm looking through it right now. So big change on me for Gausman, and he's in 25% of my lineups. Now, the one thing that's really annoying that I'm waiting for right now is that I would like to get that starting lineup for the San Francisco Giants. The Giants are still going to be a massive part of my build, and we're still waiting for their starting lineup to come out. So that'll be helpful. But I do think that my pitcher exposure is probably not going to change all that much now compared to when we actually get that lineup to come out. But I am on 25% of Kevin Gausman now. And earlier in the day when you and I were doing, we were looking at the top pitchers tool, and when we were also running lineups through lineup generator, I was of the opinion that Gausman was overowned at close to 40% ownership. But now that ownership's come down, and then the pitchers around him in terms of the pitchers we actually want to play have come up, it's a little bit easier for me to get to Gausman. I'm still slightly underweight to the field, but not quite the same as how I was this morning, where I really felt like Gausman was going to be overowned in a difficult matchup against the Houston Astros. A little more palatable now. But do you have a least favorite pitcher of these popular options?
Of the popular options, not really. I guess maybe Freddie Peralta, just because of the matchup with Baltimore is fairly tough. The price tag is reasonable at $7,700, but I'd say of the chalky options, probably have to be Freddie Peralta for me. Not a strong stand I'm taking there. I'm perfectly willing to play some Peralta, but if I had to choose one that I'm trying to get under the field, it would be Freddie Peralta for me. How about you?
So I'm a little bit underweight to Gausman and Mitch Keller, just based on the price points, right? Ultimately, when I ran my lineups, I found it a little bit easier to end up coming away with Clark Schmidt, Joe Musgrove, Freddie Peralta. But my favorite option of these is Joe Musgrove, somebody we talked a lot about, earlier in the day. And I just like the salary savings that we're getting on Joe Musgrove compared to the Kevin Gausman and Mitch Keller. And then I do think that Musgrove is a better pitcher than Freddie Peralta and Clark Schmidt. So Musgrove, the matchup against the Mariners, not great, not totally terrible either, but Musgrove is a pitcher who I can't remember who it was in YouTube chat earlier today that made a really astute point, is that if you look at the underlying numbers for Joe Musgrove, they're much better than what his actual ERA is. But one thing also that stands out is he had that one start where he had to pitch in Mexico City, which screwed up all of his numbers significantly. So you've got still a somewhat limited sample size for starting pitchers this year. Joe Musgrove's only made 7 starts. He's thrown 36 innings. So, averaging a little over 5 innings per start. He has a 4.71 ERA, but a 3.46 expected ERA. But his ERA is massively inflated by the fact that he had to make that one just absurd start in Mexico City where they're playing in a little league ballpark. It's taking place like on the moon where the ball flies out like crazy. He pitched 3 innings, gave up 7 runs in that start. If you take that one start out, his numbers look considerably better. And it's not really all that fair to count that one start against him all that much. Like for the year, he's given up 6 homers, Neil. How many homers do you think he gave up in those 3 innings he pitched in Mexico City?
3.
Yeah. 50% of the home runs he's allowed for the entire year came in 3 innings he pitched in Mexico City, which should have no bearing really on how we view him as a pitcher, but it's really impactful to his overall numbers. So he's pitching better than I think people realize at first glance. And by the way, the last 2 starts for Joe Musgrove, he's pitched 12 1/3 innings, only given up 2 earned runs. And one was a road matchup against the Yankees, a road matchup against the Marlins, which is a little bit easier, but still, I think there's something happened over there.
We got the Giants lineup.
Oh, okay. So we've got the Giants lineup here. It is Lamont Wade, Tyro Estrada, So all the injured guys are back. All the injured guys are back for the Giants as I'm reading through this lineup. We've got, I'll continue. So Estrada, Peterson, JD Davis, Michael Conforto, Mitch Haniger, Yastrzemski, Bailey, Crawford. So all players that are the players that were injured are now all in. So we've got Estrada's back, Jock Peterson's back, Michael Conforto. They were all iffy to play today. They're all going to be in. Just as a quick reaction to that, we don't typically get a ton of news for baseball, and these guys were ultimately expected to play. But how does this change your outlook for the San Francisco Giants, if at all?
It doesn't at all, because I was going to like the Giants a lot either way in Colorado. They're, just under-owned in our top stacks tool. I guess it helps, if anything. Like, obviously having better bats in there is going to be helpful for my interest in the Giants. I'm thinking that I did a set of 20 lineups in the lineup generator. I think I'm going to go back and choose the chalky option, just because I think the chalky bats on this slate look really good. And the Giants in particular are actually under-owned despite being chalky. So I guess that's my immediate reaction is, I'm going to redo. I had done balanced builds in lineup generator. I'm going to go back and do some chalky builds because I want to get more of the Giants.
Yep. And this is actually going to be good for me because I had run my lineups through the lineup sim tool before we started, and I was under the assumption that Estrada, Conforto, Jock Peterson were all going to be in the lineup. It would have been a massive pain in the ass for me if these guys were not in the lineup, but all well and good here because we've got those guys all in. So should be good. And by the way, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know, we do have our sim tool, the newest product out at Stochastic, and probably the coolest product that we have released so far. And if you guys want to go check it out, click on the link below and you go, and it's an expensive tool, but we definitely think that it's worth it because this is something that we do think is going to totally revolutionize how a lot of people play DFS, and definitely can make a lot of people who are maybe, mid-range type players, make you guys more 150 maxers regularly or just entering more lineups, because this has the ability to upload 2,000 lineups into it. And then it is going to sort the lineups for you. It's going to identify which are your best lineups of the set of lineups that you create. And a lot of the stuff that you're going to see in there is often going to mirror what some of the stuff like in our top pitchers tool, top stacks tool says. And yeah, our sims also are pretty high on the Giants today. It's going to be my favorite stack of the entire slate. But let's get back to talking about some of these pitchers. By the way, if anybody has questions for us, throw them into the YouTube chat, throw them into Discord. Anybody who has questions for us in Discord, just at me and we can answer those questions as we go here. We talked about the popular pitchers. Are there any pitchers picking up less ownership that you like to get to today? Because once you get past those 5 popular pitchers, Neil, you've got James Paxton at 12% owned on DraftKings, and then nobody else picking up any kind of ownership.
And I have some interest in Hunter Brown. He's expensive. He's got a terrible matchup in Toronto. Very tough spot here. But 1% projected ownership for Hunter Brown. His strikeout rate, 28%, 29% on the year. I think that he's a really talented pitcher. I'm willing to bet on the talent there despite the matchup with Toronto. Now, I don't know if I'm actually going to get there because it depends on if I can find any Hunter Brown lineups in lineup generator. But if I do end up getting to some Hunter Brown, I'm willing to eat it. I'm willing to that 1% ownership for a pitcher that we have with a greater than 10% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. I'm very interested there despite the high price tag and tough matchup. I'd say he's the contrarian pitcher that I'm most interested in. Under 10%, James Paxton, obviously I have interest in. He's 12% projected ownership. So I don't know if you consider him contrarian, but somewhat contrarian. James Paxton, I obviously have interest in as well. Lucas Gilbert looks good in the top pitchers tool, 5% projected ownership, 12% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. If he's going to be pitching against the Padres, I guess I'd prefer that it be in San Diego. It is a great ballpark to pitch in, but obviously a tough matchup there. I guess you could go to some Giolito against the Yankees. Obviously, tough spot, but talented pitcher. Don't know if I want to go to Bieber at all against Boston. I don't think that I will. Tony Gonsolin, also getting 1% projected ownership, 6% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Great matchup with the Reds. Tough spot, obviously, in Great American Ballpark. But if they're not getting hits, they're not going to hit it out. So if he's getting some strikeouts, that would be helpful. I'd say those are the pitchers that I'm most interested in that are not getting a ton of ownership. How about you? Do you have any contrarian pitchers that you like here?
Yeah, so if we go over and we look at some of the lesser owned pitchers, nobody that I love, but there are a couple of spots where I think that if you're playing a bunch of lineups, there are players that you could reasonably get exposure to. Nobody for super cheap, although we could revisit that in a second to see if there's anybody that we would consider for cheap there. But James Paxton, just for the same reasons that I liked him the last time he pitched, he's somebody who has a history of being an elite pitcher. He also has a history of getting injured a lot. He's not been healthy the last few years. The velocity is back for James Paxton. I wouldn't really play him on FanDuel. DraftKings at $8,600, though, I do think he makes sense. A lot of it is just betting on his previous success in the big leagues, combined with the fact that his fastball velocity, just over 96 miles per hour. It's the fastest it's been in years. So that leads me to think that James Paxton is healthy, at least for now. Is he going to be healthy at the end of the season? Most likely not. I think that history tells us James Paxton's going to get hurt sooner rather than later. But while he's healthy, I think he is upside. So he's the pitcher who is picking up the least ownership that I have the most amount of interest in. And then also, I think you make a case for Tony Gonsolin, somebody else who's maintained a sub-2 ERA so far this year. A little bit of luck on his side, but that's going to be the case whenever anybody has like a 1.7 ERA. But he had an ERA in the low 2s last year. There's a little bit of strikeout upside. He's a good matchup against the Reds, even if the ballpark isn't quite ideal. But at 1% ownership, Tony Gonsolin, somebody that I could definitely make a case for if I'm going super, super low own, and then James Paxton for a little bit less ownership. Are there any value options you like at pitcher? And then if not, we'll go and look at the FanDuel board a little bit as well.
Not really. I don't think off the top of my head. I mean, yeah, I don't think I'm going to Manaya in Colorado. I think the answer is just no. I'm not seeing anybody that's standing out to me as far as value options that I really want to play here. Probably the cheapest I'm going is Freddie. I guess it's Freddie Peralta. I'm trying to see if there's anybody I'd like to play outside of lower than 7,700. Freddie Peralta. I don't think that there are any other pitchers that I'm really trying to target here.
Yeah, same for me. I don't really think there's a need to go to any of these like super punt pitching options, especially because most of them are just bad. Not only is it bad pitchers, Neil, it's bad pitchers in tough matchups. You know, like Jake Irvin against the Cardinals, or you get like the Coors Field pitchers, like Carlos Carrasco, who's past prime now. He's on the road in Atlanta. So it's really tough to make a case really for any of those guys. But if we go and we touch over on FanDuel here, one thing I really like, if you're paying up for pitcher, I think one of the easiest ways to differentiate is just play Mitch Keller instead of Gausman. I think Mitch Keller's safer than Gausman today. You got Mitch Keller going up against the A's, whereas Kevin Gausman's pitching against the Astros. We've got similar projections on these two pitchers. So if I'm paying up for one of them, give me Mitch Keller at 8% ownership compared to Gausman at 15%. I know you said you like Gausman a little bit on DraftKings before. So then on FanDuel, where they're priced similarly, and then Keller is half the ownership, do you like getting to him for a pivot play off of Gausman?
Yeah, I do. I actually think that I might prefer Keller over Gausman on FanDuel. I mean, I might prefer him on DraftKings as well, but I think on FanDuel for me, it's even easier just because they have the quality start bonus. I think that he's more likely to get the quality start versus Oakland than Kevin Gausman against Houston, and he's getting half the ownership with only 1.3% worse odds of being the top pitcher on the board. So he is slightly more expensive, but the matchup is good enough that I think that I would prefer to go to Keller over Gausman on FanDuel.
Yeah, same way. And then if I'm going a little bit cheaper, my preferred option is Musgrove. Musgrove, $8,300 on FanDuel. You got Peralta at $8,900. You got Clark Schmidt at $7,700. I like going to Joe Musgrove at $8,300. Price point in between those two. Modest ownership at 18%. The actual most popular pitcher on the slate is Clark Schmidt. And yeah, for $7,700 price tag, I do think that he's a decent option overall on FanDuel. It's just too much ownership. 24% ownership going to Clark Schmidt on this slate when there's not a single other pitcher projected for north of 20% ownership. Give me Joe Musgrove also for the ownership discount, pitching at home against the Seattle Mariners. And like I said, the ERA is a little bit misleading just based on the fact that he had that one Mexico City star, which accounts for, let's see, how many of his runs this year? I talked about how it's 50% of his home runs in that. So another follow-up, Neil. What percentage of his runs do you think are made up from those 3 innings that he pitched in Mexico City?
I don't remember how many runs he gave up in those 3 innings, but I'll go with it was 20% of his runs.
He has given up 19 earned runs this year. 7 of them were in that 3 innings.
Jesus, okay.
Mexico City.
Wow.
So, yeah, like this screwed up his entire first half of the season. Like he had if he had aspirations to be an all-star, that 1 star honestly might have fucked it up because he's going to get, another 8-9 starts before the all-star break. Like that really could screw up your entire first half of the season numbers having that 1 start there. So anything else you want to add as far as the pitching options go?
I'm with you, Joe Musgrove, the pay down option that I prefer on FanDuel at 8,300. Clark Schmidt getting more ownership. He's 7,700, slightly worse odds of being top 1% pitcher. So I'd rather take the ownership discount there and go to Musgrove over Clark Schmidt. But obviously Clark Schmidt still in play. There's a reason that he is the highest owned pitcher on FanDuel. We do have Hunter Brown at 0.5% ownership on FanDuel. So I'd be willing to go there again. He is cheaper than Gausman or Keller. So certainly another I'd be willing to play Hunter Brown on both sites.
Yeah, and then we've got just addressing something Chuck Deuces said that Musgrove is the highest owned pitcher on FanDuel. We have Clark Schmidt projected to be more popular in our projections. Now, does that mean he has to be more popular? Not necessarily, but we do have Musgrove projected for more. With Clark Schmidt projected for more ownership than
Looks
Musgrove.
like he read an update there. He said not anymore.
Let's see. Not anymore. Never mind. Yeah.
Yep.
So a little more ownership going to Clark Schmidt. Give me Joe Musgrove for the slightly less salary, for the slightly less ownership, and then give me Joe Musgrove over Freddie Peralta for the slightly less salary. Let's go and build some lineups in the lineup generator. Although first, I want to check to make sure that there weren't any questions that we missed in Discord.
So I want to say one thing about the Sims tool, because it is an important distinction, because somebody was asking, can you use other Sims tools along with our Sims tool? So I think that our Sims tool is the first publicly available Sims tool where you are simulating contests rather than, like, a lot of times simulators are just simulating the games themselves. So they're doing sims of like, how is this game going to play out? What are the odds of this player reaching this number of fantasy points, etc. What our tool is the first doing is simulating the contests themselves. So you're entering a ton of different lineups, and it's simulating your lineups against your DFS lineups against each other. So that's a distinction between our tool and other Sims tools that are out there. That's why this is so revolutionary.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I missed that in the YouTube chat, but yeah, this is different than what anything else is doing. And yeah, you certainly could build your lineups in Saber Sim and then upload them right into the lineup generator. And from there, it's going to tell you which of those lineups you built are expected to be the best lineups. They're going to play against each other 40,000 times over the course of like 45 seconds to a minute. So that's totally fine. And they are hand products with different utilities. So you need some sort of lineup generator to be able to use the sim tool. So unless you're hand building 2,000 lineups in a CSV, right. Which by the way, I haven't heard of anybody doing that. That would be quite extreme.
That would be. We'll hear of somebody eventually. A lot of sickos out there.
Yeah, somebody will do it.
And then the lineup will come out different than they expect, and it's just going to fuck them.
Yeah, that's Sims for hand builders. Hand build 2,000 lineups, and then you put them in the sim tool. Let's go and look at the lineup generator now, which, by the way, if you guys are startup DFS players, dip your toes into the water of baseball, this is the simplest way to get involved, because we've got our lineup generator tool. When you sign up using the link we have below, you get access to it for as cheap as less than $5. And it's going to just build lineups for you. You give it a couple of settings. You could lock players in if there's anybody you really like. You could choose different stack settings, choose whether to play on DraftKings, FanDuel. You upload your lineups right to the site from our lineup generator. But this is the easiest tool that we have for startup DFS players who are looking to dip their toes into the waters of baseball, or if you're just somebody who's short on time and doesn't necessarily have the ability to build lineups for yourself. Let's go to all stack types. Let's do all lineups. Just kind of curious to see what pops up on a bigger slate. 12 games today. Not locking anything. See what comes up. Based on how we ran this before, Neil, I'm going to expect a lot of Giants and Pirate stacks to come up.
Yep.
All right. Pretty similar to what we got this morning. And also, it's nice that we now have the confirmed Giants lineups. But yeah, Tugapito Marcano, he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was our most roster player this morning as well, wasn't he, Neil?
Yep.
Yes, we got Marcano at shortstop, Ryan Reynolds. We ended up getting to a lot of Clark Schmidt, a lot of Kevin Gausman, a lot of Freddie Peralta. And then I assume Joe Musgrove will be the next most rostered pitcher if we keep scrolling down. Let's see if I'm correct. Oh, Mitch. Oh, never mind. Mitch Keller, then Musgrove probably. There's not that many pitchers that, like we were talking before, there aren't that many pitchers to get to. I'm totally fine with just, especially if you guys are playing 20 lineups, just rotating through these top pitching options. I think that is a totally reasonable way to approach the slate. And then, yeah, in terms of stacks, looks like we're getting to a lot of the Pirates, a bunch of the Giants. Anything else you notice here with these lineups, Neil?
Yeah, it's looking kind of similar to earlier. As you said, we're getting some Dodgers here. We're getting some Pirates, Giants, kind of as you would expect. We do chalk or what types of lineups do we do here? I know we did all lineup types.
This morning we did balanced. This morning we did a little bit of everything. We did a combination.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I probably would cut back on some of these Tuku Pizza. What's the name again? I can't say that last name.
Pizza Marcano.
Yeah. I would probably cut back on some of those lineups. I think we're only getting him because he is 53%. Kind of interesting that we are still getting so much Marcano instead of De La Cruz, because De La Cruz is also shortstop 2K. I guess it's because we like the lineup better overall than the Cincinnati lineup. But yeah, I'm curious if we got any of Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah, I think that is who, by the way, as I'm looking through my lineups right now, De La Cruz is actually my most rostered shortstop for myself personally. So doesn't mean Marcano is a bad option, but you got, Ellie De La Cruz at a super cheap price point, also one of the top hitting prospects in baseball. But Marcano does correlate more with the lineups that we're building here. Just don't forget, we're only making stacks, and, the Pirates are a little bit overowned. So it's not a team that I'm building a ton of stacks of personally, but it is a team that I get a bunch of as one-off options. So interesting there that we ended up getting to Marcano. And then, yeah, actually, Jordan, keep scrolling down. I want to see if we got to De La Cruz. Astro.
So we're looking for the name Ellie.
Yeah, keep going. I mean, the answer just might be he didn't show up in any of the lineups.
It's only 20 lineups. Oh, yeah. There he is.
There he is. Yeah, so we got to... So I guess we ended up doing 19 lineups because we got 6% of them. But either way, yeah. So Ellie De La Cruz, we ended up getting to 6% of. Let's go and check FanDuel now and see what ends up popping up for FanDuel lineups, Jordan. And do contrarian this time. I'm just kind of curious what ends up popping up if you do contrarian. Do all stack types, then just make contrarian lineups. Not going to lock anybody in, but let's see what ends up showing up. I wonder what will be different, if anything. So immediately you see Mookie Betts popping up as our most rostered hitter over on FanDuel. Actually got to Rodolfo Castro at shortstop over here. Gausman ended up being the pitcher we got to the most. What other pitchers, though?
I've always assumed that it was just Jordan making a mistake when he clicks discard right away, but then he goes back and forth between saving and discarding. And I have no idea what his reasoning is behind which ones he's saving versus discarding.
Yeah,
fascinating to me.
So from what I know about Jordan, he plays a lot of video games. So he's got those quick fingers.
He does. I can see that.
Yeah, he's just able to go back and forth really quick. By the way, did you play many video games when you were younger?
I played a ton of Super Tecmo Bowl 3. That was my favorite video game. Played some NBA Jam. I never got into Zelda or I played some 007, or is that the name of the Bond game?
The GoldenEye.
GoldenEye, yeah. I played a good amount of GoldenEye. My brother was super into it, so I played some of that. I wasn't as good at it, so I never got super into it. Preferred the sports games.
Because I was going to ask, have you played video games at all recently?
Not really. We bought a Switch, which my wife plays way more than I do. Not really.
So one thing that you realize from play, like, because I don't play many video games now, but I do on occasion. I played a bunch of them as a kid. Reaction time is totally different. It's crazy how much it's noticeable. If you played video games as a kid and then you don't really for a while and you come back, because one thing also, like, GoldenEye is on Switch now. You could play it online on Switch against other people. And yeah, it is, reaction time is way different. And something I was kind of that kind of made me think about it is because my brother watches a lot of the video games on Twitch, which I'm pretty sure Jordan does as well. Is the professional video game players, they like age out. Like if you're like 24, you're past prime as a video game player.
Wow.
Like Jordan might know this better than me, but like Jordan, what's considered a veteran for gaming? Like in the NBA, it's like somebody like Chris Paul or LeBron James, when like their mid to upper 30s are considered really old. Like video games, I'm telling you, like once somebody hits their mid 20s, it's like, oh my God, that guy's really old. Yeah. Yeah, like exactly. That's something I noticed as well. Is a lot of it's like, oh, a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, then you see a 25-year-old, and they make like a big deal about how old.
Is that because they lose like hand speed? Like, do you, like, I've never thought of you like you lose motor skills like around 25, like they get worse. Are we already on the decline that young?
In terms of like whatever it is about reaction times for like, and I think it also might be eyesight related.
Okay.
I think that maybe plays a role. But yeah, like there's a massive difference playing video games now versus playing video games for me like 15 years ago. The reaction time is totally different. Like when I was in college, I played a ton of Call of Duty and I was really good at it then. Now, like it almost happens too fast for me, the stuff around me. Like the reaction time is the same. It's very weird. I think eyesight is probably the number one thing, but I'd have to look at it more.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, a lot of people saying that people just have to be grown up.
Responsibilities. The thing is, though, I mean, like these professional video game players, this is what they do professionally, and they still age out at that age.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anyway, if we look through the rest of these lineups here, and by the way, don't forget, if you guys want to sign up for the lineup generator, less than $5 if you sign up for the first time using the link that we have below. Looking through, yeah, a lot of Giants here, a lot of Pirates, and then it looked like Mookie Betts was the most popular one off. David Peralta also on the Dodgers. Anything else you want to add here? If not, we can move on, Neil.
No, I think we can move on. It looks like we got a ton of Shohei Ohtani as, I assume, just a one-off. Not playing. I don't see Trout in there. I don't think I see any other Angels players popping up that we're getting a ton of. 22%. Kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so that has to be a one-off because I don't. Oh no, Hunter Renfroe's there, 17%.
Okay. Yep.
Any other Angels hitters? Not really. Could be in like 4-2 lineups. See, and by the way, something else. Here's something pretty noticeable. I just noticed as we scroll down. So Clark Schmidt, who's projected to be the most popular pitcher on FanDuel, when we built contrarian lineups, he only showed up in 6%. So we ended up coming in way underweight to the field on Clark Schmidt. Not surprising. All right, let's go and talk about some stacks now, Neil. How about it? So I'm going to bring up the top stacks tool, also going to refresh it and see what it is that are currently our top stacks of the day. Jordan's also pulling it up on screen at the same time. And at least earlier in the day and when I was building my lineups, it was very predominantly the San Francisco Giants. I still expect that to be the case relative to ownership. We do now have the Dodgers actually do have a slightly higher top stack odds than the Giants, but I still prefer the Giants just based on the ownership difference. So right now on DraftKings, we have, as you guys can see on screen, the Dodgers 13.2% top stack odds, the Giants at 12.3%, but the Dodgers project for nearly 50% more ownership, 14.5% compared to 9.1%. Neil, if you're building one lineup today, based on the data we're looking on the top stacks tool, what is the team you would gravitate towards?
Hate to say it, but yes, it would be San Francisco. I would be going to the Giants in Colorado. Just too good of a spot to pass up with the positive leverage. Anytime you get positive leverage on a team that jumps out in terms of top stack odds, I'm going to take advantage of that. So yeah, I'm going to go with the reduced ownership for the Giants over the Dodgers here.
Yep. Same for me. They're a team as I'm working on updating some of my lineups here. It is going to be the San Francisco Giants for me, my single entry lineup. I think that is the team that makes the most sense. It's also the team that I'm just generally going to be getting the most exposure to today. As for FanDuel purposes, this actually gets magnified even more because on FanDuel, the Giants are projected for 6.4% ownership, so even less popular on FanDuel, whereas the Dodgers projected for 15.1% ownership on FanDuel. So the Dodgers a little bit overowned. We got the Giants a little bit underowned, and pretty comparable top stack odds there, but massive ownership gap between the Giants and the Dodgers. But what are you going to be doing with the Dodgers, Neil? This is a team that has the overall top stack odds, but their ownership also is fairly high. They're projected for the most ownership overall on DraftKings, second overall most ownership on FanDuel. So relative to the ownership on the Dodgers, do you want to be above weight to the field, at the field, or underweight?
The field's playing it about right. So I think that I'm going to end up overweight to the field because I'm really trying to get to some Giants lineups. And all that lineup generator has given me is a million Dodgers lineups. Like they just look so good in lineup generator. They did really, really well in the Sims. So I'm probably going to end up overweight to the field on the Dodgers. And I'm fine with that. I mean, we see they're pretty much even, slight negative leverage there with 14.5% projected ownership, 13% chance of being the top stack, but they're in Great American Ballpark. They're playing against Luke Weaver. Obviously a great spot for the Dodgers. One of the most talented stacks out there. So I'm not mad about it that I'm going to be overweight to the field on the Dodgers. I usually try to avoid, really going overboard with the chalk. I would prefer getting to the Giants, but I'm totally fine getting to some Dodgers as well.
Boy, I didn't want to address this man in chat because he hasn't been back for a second, but this is such an off-base opinion that I feel I need to address it. Brandon Katz says that ownership is worthless in baseball DFS, unlike basketball DFS. My friend, there is no sport where ownership is more important than in baseball.
Yeah, that's all we have to do. Like it's so difficult to project baseball that you really need to be just playing the ownership versus optimal rate game throughout your lineups.
Yeah, the entire game is ownership in baseball. Baseball is massively important when it comes to ownership. You're trying to leverage ownership. You're trying to figure out which teams to be overweight to the field, to underweight. The way I view the Giants is entirely different if they're projected for 30% ownership compared to 9%. If the Giants were 30% owned as a team, I wouldn't play them at all today. Wouldn't play them at all. But because they're projected for sub 10% ownership on DraftKings and FanDuel, it's my favorite stack of the entire slate. It's all relative to ownership with everybody. It's very important. It's
the most important thing in MLB DFS.
And the other thing too is like, that's also, our Sims tool, for instance, our brand new tool. So much of that also is based on this is what the field is doing. Therefore, these are the players that are most optimal from a game theory perspective relative to what their ownership is. You got to consider what the ownership is.
Yeah. I know you did a tutorial, right, on how to use the Sims tool, because I think a lot of people are probably curious on how to use it. I think that you did a relatively short explanation of how to use it, but essentially you're trying to match the field, show what the field is going to do. You try to make lineups to match the field, and then you're going to spit out which lineups win in the Sims with the goal of making all of your lineups match the field, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I did today, and what I'm actually going to do on Twitter, I think every day now, I only did it for DraftKings today. I also think it seems like 5 minutes is not a long piece of content. I think it kind of is for Twitter though. So I'd ideally like to keep it to 2 to 3 minutes. I probably shouldn't have done any analysis. I think what I want to do, and by the way, if anybody watched my Twitter video, if you have input or anything you want to say about it, something you'd like to see me do, something you didn't like about it, I think what I'm going to do going forward is I'm going to post a Twitter video for DraftKings and for FanDuel every day. I'm going to run the Sims and I'm just going to say, these are the players I ended up being most overweight to, underweight to, stacks that ended up being most positive ROI, pitchers I got to, and just wrap it up like that, in and out. I think that's the way I really want to do it. And I'll start doing it for DraftKings and FanDuel. If you guys like that piece of content, just go check out my Twitter and I'm going to be putting it on there every single day. So that's something that, like you said, the optimal way to use our Sims tool is you're trying to build a set of lineups where you match ownership of the field in your set of lineups. And from there, it's going to be able to say like, oh, okay, based on the Sims, these lineups came out best, which is kind of indicative of what the field is doing. And then it helps you identify which spots to be, over and underweight to the field too. But let's go ahead and look at some other stacks. We talked about the most chalky options on the slate, or the most chalky option. And then also we talked about the Giants, a team that has really high top stack odds. I think is a little bit under-owned there. Are there any teams you were looking at as way over-owned on DraftKings? Do you want to be well underweight to the field to, or maybe are not playing at all?
First of all, I love that he just called you Optimal Greg. That's just a funny nickname. Maybe I'll call you Optimal Greg from now on. So teams that are overweight, that are going over-owned here.
Yes.
I mean, we got Arizona looking slightly over-owned. I guess Atlanta is the one that really jumps off the page as being over-owned in the top stacks. Well, we have Atlanta at 13% projected ownership, 7% chance to be in the top stack, 2.2% chance to be in the top value stack. They're very expensive. Carlos Carrasco, not like a gas can pitcher. It's kind of a tough spot. So probably if I had to just point out one lineup that is going over-owned according to the top stacks tool, that would be Atlanta. I don't think I'm going to be playing a lot of them.
Atlanta, and then the other one too is going to be, let's see, Atlanta. So I'm going to look at it for FanDuel as well. So Atlanta also over on FanDuel, projected for a lot of ownership. And we talked about it this morning. I really like the Pirates individual hitters, right? It's a team that I really like getting to as one-offs. As I'm looking through my lineups right here, even trying to get away from Pirates stacks, still individual hitters like Jake Sawinski, I get a good amount of exposure to. I got exposure here also to Marcano, although my most rostered shortstop is Ellie De La Cruz. Brian Hayes at third base, another one that I was getting to earlier. So there are individual hitters that I think make sense as one-offs for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but relative to their ownership, I don't know that I want to stack them, right? We've got them as being very popular on both FanDuel and DraftKings. DraftKings, nearly 10% projected ownership with 5% top stack odds. Same exact deal on FanDuel. FanDuel actually 10.4% owned. So Pittsburgh Pirates, are you stacking them? Are you playing them as one-offs? What do you make of them relative to the ownership? Because this is the most popular cheap stack of the day.
Yeah, so I'm doing the chalky builds. I'm getting to a ton of the Pirates. Obviously, a great spot against James Caprillion. We do have them with an 11.4% chance to be in the top value stack. I'm trying to get away from it just because I'm getting so much of them. I'd like to be, I think, based on the top stack, so I think I'd like to be underweight to the field on the Pirates as a primary stack. So I think that my preference would be to use the Pirates as one-offs and as secondary stacks in general. I don't think that I want to have a lot of 5-man Pirate stacks because I don't think you really need that salary savings. They're negatively leveraged in terms of their top stack odds. So in general, I'd say probably if I'm playing the Pirates, I'd like to have them as a secondary stack or like one-offs. Yeah, I think that'd be my preference there.
So, oh my God, this is like a scab that I can't stop picking at. Brandon, how could you say a team is underrated if you don't think ownership matters? What makes a team underrated? The ownership is that not an ownership stance right there? You think a team is going to be underrated, therefore overlooked? Just pointing it out. Just pointing it out. I'm sure there's going to be a totally rational response coming my way in 30 seconds, but
looking forward to it.
Just pointing out. It seems like you're factoring ownership in there. Are there any really low owned stacks that you like getting to? I mean, the San Francisco Giants, to an extent, I think kind of fit the bill in terms of them being under owned, but any super low owned stacks you're looking at and saying like, boy, I want exposure to that team in large field tournaments.
I mean, the Rockies at 1.5% ownership in Coors. Obviously, I don't generally love attacking bullpen games, but if it's a bullpen game that's in Coors and they're not getting any ownership, yeah, I'm willing to go to the Rockies at very, very low ownership here. The Mets look pretty good, 2.4% projected ownership, 4.6% chance to be in the top stack. I do like the Mets quite a bit as well. I'd say those two stand out the most to me. Maybe some interest in St. Louis against Dane Dunning, 3% ownership, 4% chance to be in the top stack. That looks okay to me. Washington kind of interesting against Tommy Henry, 7.5% chance to be in the top value stack. I don't even know if the numbers that I'm reading up, I'm looking at my own top stacks tool rather than what's on the screen. So I don't know if the numbers that I'm giving you are the exact same, but I just refreshed it. We have currently Washington, 4.3% projected ownership, 7.5% chance to be in the top value stack. So I do have interest in Washington as well. I'd say those are the stacks that stand out to me the most. I guess in a way, Baltimore is interesting. It's in Milwaukee, facing Freddie Peralta, not the best matchup, but you're getting some natural leverage on Freddie Peralta, his 28% projected ownership, and they have positive leverage in the tool, 1% projected ownership, 2.2% chance of being the top stack. So I'd say Baltimore kind of an interesting contrarian stack as well. How about you? Any contrarian stacks that you like?
I'm just going to point out that the Phillies aren't even on the slate today, but okay, neither here nor neither here nor there. Getting back on track here, Philly's not an option. They're not on the slate today, so I don't even really know the proper way to address and respond to all of that. But other teams that are super low owned that I think do warrant some kind of consideration. If we're just going, dumpster diving for a team that's picking up, like 2% ownership, the New York Yankees against Lucas Giolito. Talked about them this morning as a potential upside stack, Neil. It's a good hitter's park for them. And Lucas Giolito, when he pitches poorly, he pitches really poorly. He's somebody who's very blow up prone and then also home run prone. The way that Lucas Giolito gives up his runs are via home runs. He has allowed at least one home run in every single start since April 28th. His last start, he gave up multiple home runs. And overall for the season, he has given up 11 homers in, 68 innings. He's just a very homer-prone pitcher. He gives up a lot of fly balls, just massive red flags there. So a 33% ground ball rate combined with a 12.2% home run to fly ball rate. Lucas Giolito, I like picking on him. I like picking on him with a power offense like the New York Yankees. So going up against Giolito in that kind of way is something that I like getting to. But for you, Neil, are the Yankees a team you're getting to?
I mean, I'm always willing to play the Yankees in basically any spot. They're just one of those teams that, they're always going to look pretty good. As you said, they look good in the top stacks tool, going a little bit under owned there, 4% chance to be in the top value stack. So sure, I'm interested in some Yankees.
And then also, if you have your lineups built out in front of you, or also I should ask before we wrap this up, are there any stacks that are important to you or you want to shout out that we have not yet mentioned?
I don't think so. I think we've mentioned every stack. Arcathels is back, just brought up the Cubs in chat. I do think the Cubs are interesting. Nice spot. They're in Los Angeles. Not getting it, like they're neutral in the top stack, so it didn't jump out at me. But yeah, it's a nice enough spot for a team that's not getting a ton of ownership. I could play some Cubs.
Yeah, Einsteinium also asked me any interest in the Cubs. I have. We talked about them on the strategy show this morning, and it's pretty much the same for me. When we talked about, actually, it was both sides of this game, the Angels and the Cubs. I thought it was a really neutral game. I'm even exposure to both of them right around 5% ownership. So the Cubs, like, modest interest, but if you're playing one lineup, they're not the team I would stack today.
Agreed.
Rosso Music asked us, hey, what's up, G? Would you go to Stanton or JD Martinez as the last man in? So if I look at my lineups for today, I have more exposure to Stanton and JD Martinez. It's also going to depend on which teams it is that you're predominantly stacking, but relative to ownership, I do prefer getting to Giancarlo Stanton. And also, I know JD Martinez is in a good environment here hitting for the Dodgers, but I mean, Giancarlo Stanton, I do expect at this point in their careers to be a better fantasy producer than JD Martinez. It's going to be Giancarlo Stanton over Martinez, and then Hitman J. Thoughts on starting a build with both Keller and Gausman? Actually, I don't think I have any lineups that have both of them. Yeah, I don't.
Interesting.
It's just kind of hard to pay up for both of them in the same lineup.
Sure.
Do you have any lineups that have both of them?
I'm still working on it, so I'm doing it. I'm using lineup generator, so it's wading through some lineups to make sure that I'm getting to the stacks I want. So honestly, I can't answer your question because I'm not 100% sure right now.
Yeah, so Hitman, I would just say that they're both really expensive, which it makes it difficult from just a salary perspective to fit both of them in, depending which team you're stacking as well. I mean, 11,000 for Kevin Gausman, 10,900 for Mitch Keller. And, Mitch Keller, as good of a year he's having against the Oakland A's, I do like paying up for him today, but it's not like I need to go out of my way to jam in Mitch Keller. This isn't, like Justin Verlander's kind of sucked this year, but this isn't Garrett Cole pitching against the A's. This is the price Garrett Cole would be against the A's. Kevin Gausman's pitching against the Houston Astros, right? I like Gausman, but I don't feel like I need to jam both of them in, and there's an opportunity cost there. So I'd rather go a little bit cheaper at pitcher. Predominantly what my lineups look like, it is either two of Musgrove, Peralta, and Clark Schmidt together, or it's one of those guys paired with Gausman or Mitch Keller. That's how my lineups are generally shaking out. It is a little bit hard just from a salary perspective to be able to jam in both of the two studs together. But we're right about at lock right now. Neil, if you guys haven't done it yet, like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to bring to the table? Any hitters you're noticing you're getting to more than the field, or are popping them more predominantly in your lineups?
Well, I will say this. So as I said, I'm using lineup generator. I found that I had to go to balance builds actually to get to the Giants. So they're not even getting into the chalky build lineups. They're getting into the balance build lineups, which I thought was kind of interesting. I was trying to build chalky to get to the Giants, and I was like not getting to any Giant stacks. So if you are using lineup generator, probably need to go to those balance lineups if you want to play some Giants.
All right. That is going to do it for us today. The Phillies were not on the FanDuel slate either. I'm just going to point that out. They're not on the FanDuel slate or the DraftKings slate. But everybody, thank you very much for watching. If you didn't do yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. The slate locks in 6 minutes. So if you guys don't have your lineups in, go ahead and do those. But that's going to do it for us today. Guys, have a good one. I'll be back tomorrow for NBA.